This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, June 24th, 2014. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing, remain if you can. Thank you. As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. And may we always test ourselves in our efforts to be sure they are the truth, good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Amen. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase, Councilwoman Francois,
Here.
Councilman Kramer,
Here.
Mayor Levine,
Here.
Councilman Prasad,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Regan, Councilwoman Sherman, Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum, and we are following along on our agenda. You can find them by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy. There were a few ordinances and resolutions. People took them, that's good.
Sold out.
Okay, all sold out. You can always see our agenda and the resolutions, ordinances on our website. Just go online, usually the weekend before. You can come find them and see what's going to happen at the meetings and follow along. That's always good. We're now at item number 5 on the agenda, commendations and proclamations, which we don't have any for this evening. So now we come to item number 6, Mayor's Report. And my mug today is from the Latino, actually that one's from the Latino Leadership Alliance of New Jersey. And I have that one because last week, Rutgers had a Celebrating Latino Legacy at Rutgers, and I was there for Franklin's representation. Actually, no other mayors chose to go, so we were well represented. And honorees were Martin Perez. He's actually president of Latino Leadership Alliance. He's on the Rutgers Board of Governors, a fine gentleman. Iris Martinez Campbell and Acela Laguna, and they were good people who've helped affiliated with Rutgers, but certainly more importantly been associated with the community. It was nice, and it was worth it. When there'll come a couple points today when I'll let the public know that you can speak. A couple things coming up right after the mayor, deputy mayor's report. We're going to hear from Comcast about our cable franchise. I'll ask if you want to speak, but that'll be just on Comcast and cable. After that, our community development block grant, but then you're just speaking on that. After that will come, and I'll make it clear the whole time. After that, those two items, then comes anything of a general nature. You can tell us anything that's on your mind. And I think we have ordinance adoption, but we already had the public hearings for those, didn't we? For all the, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Oh, no, because we reintroduced, I'm sorry. Okay, after that, there'll be a few items on bonding and spending. That'll be a little later on. You can speak on those particular ordinances. Again, I'll make it clear as we go along. Our meetings are generally the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Exception is July, August, and December, when it's only the second Tuesday of the month. And on June 30th, we're having a special meeting where the only topic will be Catalpa Park. That's off of South Middlebush Road in the southern part of town, and what were concepts of what we may do there. And please note, if you come to speak, and even if you don't, we're being audio taped, videotaped, and we're going to be, it's broadcast as always on our local cable access channel. Thank you, Comcast. There are quickly some events. I was, the Center School is a school in Somerset County that attracts students from around the state. They're relocating to Franklin the beginning of next year. That's a good place. I was the graduation speaker, so I was honored to do that. Congratulations to all the graduates. As we're filmed, Franklin's graduating the end of this week. So again, congratulations to them, the Board of Education, the staff, faculty, especially the teachers and administrators. And, earlier today, I was down in Trenton. There was what's the final pieces for now on a 2% cap for property taxes and associated arbitration awards. So that was a bipartisan effort. The governor was there, the president of the Senate, the speaker of the Assembly. So that was a good event. And there, unlike the other event, there were about 100 of us mayors there. So, and many of them recognized us, me and us, and asked me how Franklin's doing, and I said, okay, fine. So our fireworks for Independence Day are on July 3rd this year. Everyone's invited, starting around 6. When it becomes dark, closer to 9, the fireworks will go off. Food, program, things for kids. And as always, we continuously strive to be business and resident friendly. To that effect, please let any of us know what is on your mind. We're always glad to hear that. That concludes the mayor's report. Item 6, we go to 7, the deputy mayor's report. Does anyone have anything for the deputy mayor, who's, I guess, can't make it at this point? I guess not. Okay, so now we're going to go to number 8, Comcast of Central Jersey. I guess they're actually called Comcast of Central Jersey 2, LLC. It's application for renewal of municipal consent cable franchise agreement. What's going to happen is we're going to have a presentation. There will then be a council discussion on the item. We may ask Mr. Clifton some items, and then we're going to ask the public if they want to come to the podium and speak. And at that point, it's going to be just on cable, and if something else, we'll let you hear it at that point. So just quickly, today is it is not negotiations. We're not negotiating anything here. We're just hearing what's happening. And just so you know, it's what we can negotiate as a town is quite limited. First of all, it's limited to cable TV. This is not internet. This is not telephone. And I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Ainone, to fill us in on what we and Comcast will be negotiating through the process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight is the hearing on our cable renewal. Mr. Clifton is here he'll give a brief presentation. We've tried to put as much information as we can on the township's website that kind of outlines what the cable renewal process is. We've also put on the township website the various publications from the State Board of Public Utilities, which Office of Cable Television, who regulates cable television renewal process. This is a very kind of technical process that we're going through now, Mayor. Technically, what we're doing is we're granting Comcast the right to use the township's right-of-ways and roads to put their cable underneath or above. That's the purpose of this. As a result of a number of federal laws and state laws, what we can do to negotiate with them with regards to that is relatively limited. And of course, Comcast is here, and their cables are in the ground, and they're on telephone poles. So one of the things that is not part of this is that we're not here to decide whether or not Comcast is going to do this or somebody else is going to do it. If somebody else comes in and they want a franchise, we can do that too. In New Jersey, you can apply for a statewide franchise like Verizon Fios has. They have a right to go into every town. They have a statewide franchise, and it's regulated by the state. we went through a process here where we had the Cable Committee did an extensive report on the renewal, and we've heard, through that process, the various complaints or concerns or questions that people have with regards to cable television. The most common are the rates that are charged, the fees that are charged, and the cable channels that are on. Those are all items that are not part of this process. That's not what we do here. We can't negotiate that. We can't tell Comcast what they can put on their cable system no more than we can tell NBC what programs they can put on their television network. We don't regulate the fees that are charged to individuals by Comcast. That is, they are, after all, a private company, and they have a right. They have rates that are regulated by BPU. They have the tiers that they charge are all things that are part of what they do. But we don't have that authority, so that's something else that we cannot do. We are here basically to make sure that the system that they promised would be built out is built out, that it's maintained in a way that it is extended, if necessary, that it'll be extended. And so that's kind of the limited nature of this process. So with that, maybe we can hear from Mr. Clifton.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Note. So representing Comcast, we have Bob Clifton. Mr. Clifton, thanks a lot for coming our way.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, is that on?
Can you hear me?
No. Oh, luckily we have an expert within a stone's throw.
In Franklin, you need 2 switches on for it to work. But you could call the cable guy and he might help you.
I think that's Comcast audio.
Oh, thank you. Nice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As the attorney explained, I may repeat a couple of things he said. Tonight, we are nearing the end of a 3-year federally mandated process. The current COA, or Certificate of Approval, will expire this December 11th. The Certificate of Approval is a document that a cable company needs in order to operate a cable television system in New Jersey. The Board of Public Utilities will issue it only after municipal consent and the cable company's application has been reviewed for compliance with state and federal regulations. We began this process on January 11th of 2012 when we sent the town a letter, what is called a 626 letter. And this is Section 626 of the FCC regulations governing cable renewals. And basically, Section 626 states that we are interested in renewing our franchise here in Franklin Township. We filed an application for renewal on March 11th, and now is our public hearing. Upon the close of the public hearing, the town would have 30 days to issue a consent ordinance or a resolution of denial. Now, the time frame on this is very flexible. The time frame is put in place to make sure that both the municipality and the company are talking. We've already had our first meeting with the manager. So no one's going to hold our feet to the fire to have this thing done within the next 30 days. It would be unlikely, even if we spent every day doing it, we could get it done that fast. The consent ordinance that we are seeking from the municipality, as the attorney said, is a simple right-of-way. It's not a contract which obligates the municipality to do anything other than to allow us to run our plant along municipal rights-of-way. It is non-exclusive, which means that any other cable provider could come before this governing body and seek to do the same things that we have been doing and we're seeking to continue to do. As the attorney pointed out, about 5 years ago, the state legislature and then the governor signed into law a new process by which Comcast, Time Warner, Cablevision, and Verizon could apply for what is called a statewide franchise, which would allow us to operate in Franklin Township without going through the process that we have begun here. Comcast, in none of its 399 municipalities in New Jersey, has chosen to go that option because of the relationships that we have built with the towns and because we realize that each town is different and their cable-related needs are different as well. If another provider did come in and went through this process, the municipality must, however, consider our application on its own merits and not compared with the other provider. Under state and federal law, the governing body must judge our application on 4 criteria. Has the cable operator substantially complied with the terms of the existing franchise? Has the operator service been reasonable in light of community needs? Does the operator have the financial, legal, and technical abilities to provide the services that we have proposed and are providing currently? And is the operator's franchise renewal proposal reasonable? There are 2 areas, and the attorney pointed those out, that the governing body may not consider whether to renew or to deny. One are rates. Rates are governed by state and federal statute and are outside your purview. And second is programming. A cable operator's channel lineup is protected under the First Amendment, just as newspaper comment is. That being said, we know we get questions on that all the time, and we will do our best to answer those as well. That's all I have, Mayor, so I would look forward to any questions or comments from you or the public.
Okay, so members of the council have questions? Councilman Kramer?
So this isn't a question, it kind of is a little bit reiterating what the attorney said. And I had a short meeting with you just before this. One of my main concerns is that people in my ward often have very long driveways, and it's very expensive for them to hook up. And I'm just hoping that somehow we come to an agreement on that. And just for the benefit of the public, I even asked our attorney the question, could we ask that everybody in town pays 5 cents more so that that would be mitigated for the people with the long driveways? And the answer is no, 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 and no again. We are not negotiating rates.
And we wouldn't want to do that. We, Patriot, what is called the former Patriot system by people internal in Comcast, which is Central New Jersey 2, which Franklin is a part of. There are a lot of municipalities that have issues like that. And what we're doing, and we've already met, and the manager is going to get a list of those streets and those addresses to the best of his ability to get them. And we're going to go out and take a look and see what can be done. There have been a lot of instances in this former Patriot system where we've been able to work with the homeowner to get those prices down for installation. But in some cases, we have a quarter mile, a mile from our existing plant to run, and it can run expensive to run the fiber optic cable that far. But we try to work these things out on a case-by-case basis to see what we can do for the customer. We have worked, and we've been successful in a lot of cases to help folks out.
Well, thank you for that. Unfortunately, none of those people are watching tonight. But,
And we want them to.
Yeah.
So we want to do the best that we can to help them get the service if they so choose it.
Okay, Councilwoman Francois?
So I have a question.
Yes.
You had mentioned that the council evaluates your criteria for considering reapplying and giving you the franchise. And one of the criteria you mentioned was reasonable regarding providing community needs. And we have people here from the communities, particularly from a senior development at 25 Parkside Street, and they're here represented. I'm sure they're going to get up and speak. And they do have a specific community need. And they would like to have someone from Comcast work with them to establish a specific rate that would provide some type of a senior discount for that building.
Well, we do provide a pad discount. We're not allowed to provide a senior discount. A senior discount is considered discriminatory pricing, but state law has allowed for a pad discount. So if you qualify for pad, you would get 10% off your cable, the cable portion of your bill.
And what is a pad discount? What does it stand
That's a
for?
prescription for the aged and disabled. So basically, and that's a state designation. You'd have to, and what we do.
Have to be income, it's an income qualification. If you qualify for that benefit, it just sets whatever that median income is.
And what I will do tomorrow is I will email to the manager. It's a very simple form that you fill it out, and you give us a copy, a Xerox copy or the number of your pad card, and you send it back to us, and we automatically put the credit onto your bill.
Is that individual specific, or could it be done at a
It would have,
site
well,
level?
it's individual because everyone there may not be on that program. It's a state program, and we have to follow the state guidelines, which says only individuals who qualify for the PAAD can get that discount. Anything else would be considered discriminatory pricing, because we're saying that anyone who's a senior citizen get a discount. Why can't someone who isn't a senior get a discount. So we have to follow the state on this, and the state has mandated, or their regulations are, if you qualify for PAD, the state prescription, for aged and disabled, then you can get 10% off your cable bill. So what we need the proof that they're part of PAD, and then once we verify they're in PAD, we automatically put that onto their account that they get that discount. But we're not allowed just to say, we're giving you a senior discount. That's illegal.
There is, and I think just as a follow-up, so another thing that we can be clear about, because we've spoken about this, there are communities here in town that aren't technically covered by this franchise agreement, because they have roads, the franchise goes right up to where our public road ends, and they're in those developments, and potentially in a place like Parkside, which is kind of a development like that. It's the fact that it's seniors is not as important as it's a combined unit. I'm assuming we should put these developments in contact with your business people, and you can work out different arrangements
I'll
with them.
liaison. Councilwoman, what the attorney's driving at is, we have a lot of senior communities that have their own private roads. The town doesn't maintain them, and we have to get a specific contract with them, and we negotiate a separate contract, our business department. So this franchise may not cover their development because they may have a private agreement with Comcast Cable, which is outside of this, because they may not be municipal roads, they may not have municipal right-of-ways. So we've entered into a negotiation with them. So I would have to call our business people and find out if this community is covered by a private contract, which at that point, the community would be able to negotiate one Comcast contract up for rates. The rates vary in these communities. We have a tariffed rate, which the state of New Jersey reviews and approves, and that covers everyone outside of communities that have private agreements. In, say, Jersey City, there may be some big high-rises, and they're not covered by the municipal franchise. They have an individual contract with our business department because, in instances, and I don't know how this community is set up, but sometimes you have communities where their association fees cover their basic cable, and they pay for anything over and above that. So I would have to see what this community status is. If it's covered under the franchise agreement, that they're public roads and they're part of this agreement, then absolutely we're going to get those those PAD discount forms to the manager, and we can get them distributed out to the community. If they're covered under a private contract with Comcast, then the association or whoever handles the community then would have to reach out to our business folks. But I'll make sure that the right people talk to the right people.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh.
Can I ask another question, just to follow up our township attorney? Because
Yes,
I want to make sure I understand what you're doing. I own an apartment building full of senior citizens, and I have someone else manage it, whatever. And I say, well, I need to contact your specific office for private agreements, and then negotiate, or you tell me what you can do as far as basic.
There are agreements through our business department, closed communities, condominium complexes, senior developments that are not have public right-of-ways and not public roads. And since everything in the ground is owned by that association, Comcast will negotiate.
They're not municipal.
If, in some cases, the community doesn't want to and they want to be covered under the franchise agreement, sometimes they negotiate on behalf of all their residents. So Monroe Township in Middlesex County is a prime example where literally half of the residents live outside of senior communities and half live in. Some of those senior communities are private roads, and they have negotiated privately with Comcast Business Services side of the company, and they pay a certain amount every month out of their association fees will go for basic cable, and if somebody wants internet, they buy it directly from the company. So there's hybrids and different things like that.
Just one more question.
Sure.
If you already have it in the road so that it's a public road, you come right up to the doorstep, and my question would be, are they covered under that private
type of road where you're saying?
I
or
would
is
have,
that-
I would have to check. A lot of communities are different. Some communities, like I said, Monroe Township's a good example because they've got a ton of communities. Some are covered with private contracts with Comcast Cable.
Okay.
Some are covered under the municipal franchise.
Okay.
It depends. So I'd have to look into this specific community and find out what their status is. They may have a contract with our business services side, and they may actually be paying less a month than people outside of that community based on the tariff rates.
I don't think that's the case.
Well, I'd have to check and see, because I just, if the town plows those roads
Yes,
and
we do.
maintains them,
Yes,
it's
we
probably
do.
that they're under
They're under
this existing
public,
franchise.
yes.
And in that case, we'll get all the forms to the manager tomorrow. We'll get him a copy of the form. He can make all the copies, and everyone would just send those in. And they would get, if they're in the PAD program, and they would get their discount. But that's the only way we can give a discount is if the person is in the PAD program. It's the only way we can do it.
Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I worked in telecommunications for 30 years, and one of our big thing was when there was outages, we were very big on key learnings and trying to understand what we did well, what we did poor, what we could improve on. And naturally, during Sandy, there was a significant outage. I was very involved with the township manager on conference calls, working with him relative to PSE&G. But quite honestly, the communication that we received from Comcast, specifically on the residence level, was not where I would have expected it to be from a company of your size and experience. I know even when I attempted to call, you got multiple answers from different people,
Right.
different times. So I would like to hear something, I would like to hear about the key findings analysis that you did on Sandy and relative to what your plans are to improve. I mean, we all hope, I'm sure
Right.
there's no one in this room, I know especially the man at the end, that wants to have another Sandy, but
What-
the harsh reality is we
Absolutely.
need to be prepared for that, and I would hope that the next timer, because we did that in Irene, we as a municipality did not handle things well. We had key learnings, and by the time Sandy came around, we were 95% better on what we executed. So I'd like to hear
Absolutely.
what are
And-
some of the problems you recognized you had, and then the solutions that are in place
Right.
to address that.
The first thing off the top, right from day one was, and it's not a attack on the power companies. We had very little contact back and forth with the power companies. We own no poles.
Right.
So in order for us to get in and put our fiber back up, we need to know when the poles go back up. We're the lowest line on that pole because we're the least dangerous lines. So we are behind the electric company reestablishing the poles, putting their stuff back up. Then phone comes in, and then us. And one of the things we learned quickly was we had no communications back and forth. So as JCP&L or PSE&G were putting their poles back up and re-energizing neighborhoods, we didn't know. We were playing catch-up to try to get back in. So the goal is always now to follow them, is literally to have a crew and follow them as they re-energize their neighborhoods so that we can do the same thing. One of the things, and up at the Friday before Sandy, we had not even had a contact or a seat at the Rock. And we were lucky enough late Friday afternoon to get on those conference calls. One of the things now that the folks at the Regional Operations Center and the OEM have done is they set up a communications sector working group where all the communications companies, we meet now to work on best practices. The power companies are also doing that, and at some point, all the power companies and all the communications companies will sit down and go over a plan of action. One of the things that Comcast can offer, we have what are called nodes, and that basically serves 500 homes in a neighborhood. And we have down in Voorhees, basically, it's like a mission control center. And when we see 500 homes go off, we know the power. It's probably not us. It's probably the power is off in that neighborhood. Now we're establishing the relationships where we can reach out to power company and say, you've got 500 residents out in Franklin Township on this street, in this neighborhood, so that we can dispatch our trucks and they can dispatch their trucks and we can try to do it. So we absolutely learned a lot during Sandy. One of the jobs that I was specifically tasked for is through our billing system and our, when you call up, your number pops up on the screen and your account information pops up when a customer service agent answers your phone call. One of the things we are now doing is basically tagging all the OEMs, county and municipal OEM offices, all the police departments, all the first aid squads, all the fire departments, so that they are given first priority in an emergency. So when they call, it pops up, Franklin Township OEM. We know, and we're going to try to be proactive in when the power does go out and the service does go down, that we know where you are, what your account information is, did you have internet with us, did you have phone with us, or just cable TV, so we can prioritize emergency services facilities to get energized first. Obviously, the state mandate is hospitals first. That's power company, that's
Police stations.
But with our workforce, we want to make sure that the OEMs, the police departments, first aid squads, fire departments are up as fast as humanly possible. But again, and it's not to point blame at the utilities, we can't give your service back unless you've got power. If the poles are ripped out of the ground, we can't give you service back. We learned that the hard way on Long Beach Island. So the key is coordination, and the state's been vigilant, and all the companies involved, the Verizons, Time Warners, Cablevisions, Comcast, JCP&Ls, Atlantic Electric, they've all been in meetings to try to better coordination so that when the power goes out, they're out, we're behind them.
Okay.
And that's the goal.
So that's all very good, and I'm glad that, the coordination with other agencies was critical, obviously. I'm quite aware that, you can't provide service if you don't have the power. But I think the most frustrating factor was, again, the lack of communication
Right.
with our township manager or our OEM. I mean, we were on calls with PSE&G, regional vice president was,
Right.
and Bob actually, once the initial wave was over, he was able to get a plan of, hey, this section of town is going to be, is coming on first. So that's what I'm
Right.
really looking to hear is,
And-
have you established as part of your protocol now
That is-
that you're going to reach out to your OEMs, and there's
Yes.
someone designated for
And I'm
Somerset County
yes.
that when we're in Bob's office, because we've got hundreds and thousands of people complaining like we don't know what's going on, we can get him to get you
Right.
on the phone.
I am going to be the contact for the 100 municipalities I represent for
Okay.
Comcast. I'm the guy. And we've learned a lot from Sandy, and OEMs, first aid, like I said, are going to be
Okay.
priorities. As far as the customers, and I'll hear groans, the customers are the least,
Residents, regular residents.
are going to be the least
Yeah.
priority. Like we said, emergency services are
Right.
going to be number one.
Yeah,
So we're looking at better ways to communicate. One of the things, like we said, we spent a lot of time gathering all the OEM information, cell phone numbers, addresses, so that we can be proactive in reaching out to them and letting them know.
okay. Now, hopefully we don't have another event, a Sandy event, as long as I'm sitting up here or even in the state of New Jersey. But in case we do, generally in town, we have run active shooter drills at the school. We've run OEM drills for various situations, because you could put a protocol in place, but if you don't test it, you don't know how well it works. So is there a plan to say, once every 3 years, Comcast has a plan to do a simulated significant outage where?
We just did one last month, and the goal is probably yearly from what we
Okay.
learned this one. And also, my understanding is, and I'm not the point guy at the Rock, my bosses, but they're probably going to be looking to do one with everybody involved, with the phone companies, with the power companies, and with us, so that when it does happen, we get that idea.
All right.
One of the things we realized that in the county OEMs seem to drive the bus. Comcast isn't the provider in all of those seats, or all in those county seats. We are in some, but not all. And one of the things we didn't have was a representative in those buildings, which now is one of the things we're trying to remedy, to at least, if not be there physically, is to be in constant contact with the OEM coordinators.
Okay. And for clarification for everyone listening, the ROC is the state police facility,
I'm
not
sorry,
Prudential.
Regional Operations
Right, not
Center.
the commercial Prudential
Right.
ROC. It's the state facility where they have the emergency.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Thank you.
answers.
Okay. Okay, any other council? Okay, so now we're going to go to the public hearing. Again, when you come up, this will just be on cable, and there'll be a chance later on to speak of things of other nature. So is there a motion from the council to open the meeting for a public hearing on the Comcast application for renewal of municipal consent? That's a cable franchise agreement.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Okay, now, as is our policy, we'll ask you, if you want to speak, raise your hand, I'll call on you, come to the podium, give us your name and address. And our policy is one person come up per item. So if you speak here, you can come up in the public discussion, of course, but only once per person for this item. And there's no yielding of time, and we'll have a timer. So we'll ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes. When a tone goes off, that means 3 minutes has elapsed. After 5 minutes, I'll ask you to wrap up your thoughts. If you have, feel free to ask a question. Please address your comments to the council, and if Mr. Clifton can answer, we'll ask him to do that. Otherwise, it's it being addressed to us. So, anyone interested in speaking on Comcast and cable, please raise your hand. And when I recognize you, come to the podium, give us your name and address, and recognize that we are being audio and videotaped, and Comcast is broadcasting us. Yes, ma'am. And then you can go after her. Yeah, come on over, ma'am. Yeah, do you want to
Bring the microphone
Well,
over to her. Yeah, the bring the microphone.
Thank you very much.
And your name and address, and let us know. Touch
Yes,
line.
my name is Ruth Chavez. I'm the president of the Parkside Center Association at 25 Parkside Street. This unit, we have 70 occupied units. Seniors 55 and over. My concern with Comcast is we would like to have a package deal to help the seniors because of the high cost of service. We find the service is constantly increasing. We would like to know about a package deal where we could have one particular amount for that month. That is one of our questions. We already discussed the one for the PAAD eligibility. We have some people in the building that would qualify for it. My second complaint is on the customer service. We have a problem with customer service where we have a long waiting period. Sometimes we have a problem when we try to get the supervisor. We're told the supervisor is busy. Those are the three things we would like to have help with Comcast.
Okay. We can.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I think this is the public hearing, so we should probably hear from the public, and then maybe we can try to kind of ask Mr. Clifton if he could take notes and maybe to kind of wrap up afterwards.
Yeah, okay, and Mr. Clifton, you're taking your notes on that. Yes, then you can go right after her. Yeah, you can stand up behind her if you like. Thanks.
Hi, councils. I would like to address the
Just here,
Comcast
I'm sorry.
issue.
Name and address,
Yeah.
please.
My name is Dolores Small, and I am also a resident of 25 Parkside Street, Parkside Senior Housing in Somerset, New Jersey. And I didn't bring them up, and they in my pocketbook. If I have basic cable, and I maintain my choice of basic cable, why would my bill fluctuate? Why wouldn't it still have the same basic cable fee every month? If I started out with a $143.30, okay, and that was after my year, and then I renegotiate to maintain my basic cable, and then my bill goes up, $163.47, $155.47, Why would it fluctuate? If I have basic cable, why wouldn't it stay the same? That's what I want to know. Because according to us being seniors, so most of us means we're on a monthly income. So we have already allocated our funds. And so I know with the cable going under the ground and everything, we might be trying to, are we paying for that? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And so I would submit to the council, if you have any clout at all, deny it. Because we can't afford it. And so most of us, our bills are going up, like $175, and then next 1 month, you call, you make a complaint, even though you stay on the phone a long time. You still don't get the service, the benefits. And I believe that it is absolutely a privilege, you know, to be able to service the people, not the people service Comcast. Okay? I don't want to run out of time or step on nobody's feet, but I'm just saying, you know, and that you deserve the right to the way you spend your money. Amen? And if you want to go out and you want to run lines under the ground and everything like that, it should not be at our cost. I understand that prices go up, but when you're dealing with seniors that don't have the money, it would be a nice consideration overall, corporately, collectively, to make that decision to help your seniors. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
could you bring the microphone to the
let me-
next woman?
And I'm going to...
Mr. Clifton, before, let me
I'm going to ask
just,
Mr. Renone to...
I think that rather than have you come back, we're just, the one thing that and maybe I didn't say this at the beginning, the end of this process will never be that the cable franchise will be denied, because the state of New Jersey won't ever allow that to happen. If they did, everybody's cable in town would get shut off. It isn't a remember, Comcast owns all of those lines. So this isn't a circumstance where we shut off Comcast and then Joe's Cable comes in and gives you cable service cheaper. Because, no, because Comcast owns those lines. So the answer is that the state of New Jersey will not let us deny the franchise. It only will allow us, within a small parameters, to negotiate the terms of it. But the one thing that I want everybody to understand, that the purpose of this process is not to decide whether or not you want Comcast to be your carrier or not. That's not the purpose of it. They are here and they are in the ground. If Verizon Fios wanted to be here and be in the ground, they could be here too. But if we actually denied the franchise and for some reason the Board of Public Utilities affirmed that, there'd be no cable television in town. Not at any cost, not at any price, there'd be none. That's never going to happen. And we said it at the beginning and we'll say it again. The one thing that this public hearing is not about, it's not about the rates that are charged. I apologize for it not being, but it's not.
If I could have just a second, I can answer.
Oh, do you
You
want...
need the microphone.
Question just for 1 second, I'll give it right back. Because there's You did, made excellent points. I want to clarify something. Basic television service is channels 2 through about channel 30. That's what we consider basic television service, and that's $16 a month. The next would be channels, say 31 up to 99 into the 100s now with the small converter, and that's an additional $53. So standard cable, basically those channels from 2 into the early 100s is about $69.95 a month. When it gets into the hundreds, these are the add-on services: HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, and there's different packages. Comcast provides lots of different packages. So you can negotiate with Comcast, tell them what you're looking for, what you don't want, and these are these different packages which will help you with your rate structure. The reason the rates go up is, quite honestly, we To use an analogy, someone told me years ago when I first joined the company, we're like a grocery store. We don't make the bread, we don't make the milk, we sell it. And we, unfortunately, can only buy programming from one source. ESPN, we can only get ESPN's programming from one person, and that's ESPN. So ESPN charges us based on the amount of customers we have, and that's how the rates are structured. When ESPN wants to raise their prices, we have to eat those costs. So when we negotiate with the broadcasters, other than NBC, we don't own broadcasters. We don't own the NFL Network. We don't own ESPN. We don't own CBS or NBC. We don't own HBO. So we have to negotiate with them. So there is a yearly rate increase because the prices for programming go up. And quite honestly, we maintain close to 4,900 employees here in New Jersey to maintain the systems, to answer phone calls, to install cable, and those costs go up as well. So the only place we get our revenue from is from the customers. So what we try to do is the best we can. As far as if you get a copy of the bill, there are lots of different packages you can choose from. It may not be everything you want. It may not be, the Ferrari, but it's entertainment services at a lower level that you may want that may satisfy some of your needs. Believe me, I understand. As the attorney rightly pointed out, this has nothing to do with rates, but we know that's the biggest concern. We feel it too. We try to enter into as long-term contracts with our programmers to keep the cost down as we can. It's cheaper for us to purchase, say, and ESPN's the most popular channel on the lineup, so that's why I bring it up. It's cheaper for us to buy ESPN if we know there's 1 million customers in New Jersey than if there's 50,000 customers in New Jersey. So we do the best we can with the rate structure. Obviously, you're here because of the rate issue, but if you call, and we understand customer service is an issue, and that is something that even the chairman of the board, Brian Roberts, the CEO and the chairman of the board, his father was the founder of the company, he runs the company now, made an announcement a couple months ago that customer service over the next 2 years is going to be the main focus of Comcast. In New Jersey alone, we answer 1.2, 1.5 million calls a year. So it's a big job. But those are the two areas I know you have the most problems with. Those are the two we're trying to address to the best we can. So I'm going to stop and give it to this lady.
I'm Gloria Smith-Notter. I'm also a resident of Parkside Senior Housing Apartments. There are two issues. I don't understand Franklin Township. I've been here since I was 29 years old. I'm 83 now. This is a big township. I worked in the school system. I've been all around this township. There are poor people living here. There are average income people, and there are many, many wealthy people living in Franklin Township. Are all of them given the same? Are they given special rates that we aren't giving? Are they given the same type of consideration? Because something is wrong when we, as senior citizens, with an income that is pension and Social Security, and this is supposed to be our golden years, and we can't even have a television, cable, or what, all these things are available to us, telephone and all that, at a certain rate. Now, you negotiate with all those that have money because they have money. We don't have it. But we still have worked many, many years trying to get ourselves into a situation that we can enjoy our later years in life. Something is definitely wrong, because I myself know that there are promotions going on all the time, not only with Comcast, but with all industry. You ask them, there's already promotions available, and they say yes. They go down on your price because they still want you. And you're taking advantage of us because we're senior citizens, and the majority of us are low income. And this is not fair. We are human beings just like everyone else, and we should be given some type of consideration. I don't think that you're being, and I know I have a friend who lives in this township off of South Middlebush Road, one of those streets you never heard of before. I don't know how many acres they have. Very, very wealthy people. It's like an estate. And I'm sure that they can afford all those things that you're talking about. But we, as senior citizens of low income, should be granted the same type of consideration. And if they can have promotions for people, then they should have promotions for us.
Okay, Mr. Reno, do you want to give us a quick answer?
Only to say, and I'll probably say it a lot tonight, the township doesn't have anything to do with their rates, and there aren't different rates for,
Okay. Yeah, you can,
there aren't different rates for different classes of people, so I just, Comcast rates or whatever their rates are.
okay. Anyone else who hasn't spoken on this issue? Mr. Tibbs, I think that's you.
I'm not going to say nothing. Yeah. Donnie's still 25 Parkside. I think you heard, we understood everything that was said tonight. And we know there's things that we can't have, and will have, and can't have. But there's one thing I want to know. I mean, are you shoving Comcast down our throats? I mean, is there any other way that are you saying there's no other cable company can come into Franklin Township ever?
No, any other cable company could come, every cable company that exists could come into Franklin tomorrow.
In other words, we citizens in Franklin Township, we can get any cable company we want.
Well, the answer is they'd have to go through the same process, but they'd have to want to come here.
No, that's not what I'm asking. Can we get any cable company we want? We can't.
No, because the only one that's operating in Franklin now is, remember, this started out as Patriot. Patriot was granted a franchise years ago, but there's nobody else operating here. So the answer is, no, you can't get a cable company that's not operating here. You'd have to have a cable company that's operating here.
But they operate if we ask them to.
No, let's.
Oh,
if I
see,
can, Bob, if I can.
that's what we.
Okay, but let me just make sure we understand. There's law, and then there's reality. Cable television is television that comes to you over a cable.
Right, gotcha.
In order for you to get it, a company has to run a cable to your house. So the answer is this. The only company, actually, there's some parts of Franklin that do have Fios because they creep in from surrounding towns. But in order for a cable television company to give you cable service, they would have to run a cable to your house. In order to run a cable to your house, they would have to get come through this process, get a franchise, and they could do that. If Cablevision decided that they wanted to wire Franklin, they can. But that doesn't mean that you can pick up the phone and say, Cablevision, I would like to sign up for your service, because they're not in there. They don't have service here.
Mr. Renal, but I think that's kind of unfair, don't you?
No, it's not. It's not a question of being fair.
That's a monopoly.
No, it's not a question of being fair or unfair. There's a ShopRite in Franklin.
Is it because
Stop for a second. There's a ShopRite in Franklin.
Right.
If you decided you didn't like the ShopRite in Franklin, you can't make it a food town. It's a ShopRite.
But I could go to Food Town.
You certainly can, but you'd have to go to another town. And that's the point of this, is that cable television, is confined by the law of physics. It has to give you television over a cable. This is not a circumstance. This is not. I'll give you an analogy. Your electric bill. Okay. People get calls all the time about you could have a different electric provider, right? That's because there's two parts of it. There's the part of it that is the wiring that goes to your house, and the part of it that's the generation of it.
Yeah, that's right.
And the state has let them separate the two, but you still have to pay PSE&G something because they have the wires. Here's the point of it. The point of it is that cable television is a service that's delivered to you over wires that are put in the ground. You can't just
I got you.
get Cablevision because they don't have their wires in the ground. Now,
I understand, Mr.
and that's the answer to, that's a practical nature of this. Look, and Mr. Clifton doesn't want me to say this, you can get DirecTV. They don't require, because they don't require you can put a dish on your house and you can have DirecTV. That's an alternate service. You can get things over the internet, but you'd have to go through an internet provider that goes over telephone wires or cable television, because they're physically you have to have your house wired to do that. So this is not about we're in this marriage with with Comcast because we're in this marriage with them because they're here.
It's a lot clearer now, Mr.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought I could make it.
But no, sir. You did. We clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You guys clear pretty much that? And we will consider your pad.
Absolutely. I will get the manager all the forms tomorrow.
All right, terrific.
But the key, and as the attorney pointed out, what we're asking for tonight is non-exclusive. Anyone else could come in, and if they wanted to so choose, build a cable system. We're not keeping anybody out. As he mentioned, Verizon Fios has started to build certain parts of the town. There is DirecTV. So by the governing body negotiating this franchise, they are not keeping anyone out of town. It's a company's decision whether or not to come into the town.
Okay, does anyone else have a comment or question regarding cable, Comcast?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, upon seeing no one else raising their hand or coming forward, I make a motion to close this session.
Second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Our public hearing on application for renewal of municipal consent, our cable franchise agreement, is done. Mr. Clifton, appreciate you taking the time to come here. I know you've got a busy schedule.
Before you leave, I think the point here is if the seniors need that pad form and it's going to be given to the township manager, then they need to have a single point of contact that they could work with in your office, customer service, so that they're not going through a whole lot of red tape, and we can facilitate the process for them. That's something I would ask for.
Also, Ruth, I have your phone number. Ruth, I'll call you when I get it, and we'll have somebody bring the forms down to the building. That's fine, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, make it easier
Sure.
for you.
You'll-
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to go on at this point, but we will have a public session soon. Okay, so we now come to item number 9 on the agenda, Community Development Block Grant Action Plan 2014. Okay, so we have a 5-year Community Development Block Grant Program, and we're in the 5th year of it, and that's what this is. So this isn't any of those specific projects, right? It's just the global item, right? Okay, so first, we're going to have our public hearing, and on this one, again, I'm going to ask you to limit it to Community Development Block Grant. That's money that comes to us from the federal government for various programs and projects in town. We're going to be speaking about the 2014 in a couple meetings, so first we'll have the public hearing, and I guess then we'll go to the specifics. So 9A, public hearing on the fiscal year 2014 Community Development Block Grant Program 2014 Action Plan, the 5th and final year of the 2010 to 2014 Consolidated Plan. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public hearing on this plan?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. The public hearing on the fiscal year 2014 Community Development Block Grant Program 2014 Action Plan, this is the 5th and final year of the 2010 to 2014 Consolidated Plan, is open. Again, comments are going to center on just Community Development Block Grant. When this is done, we'll go to a public hearing of public discussion of anything that is on your mind, and the same basic ground rules hold. Do you,
Mayor, if
I could just make a brief.
Okay, oh, I was going to do that. You want to do that before the
Yeah.
public?
Please,
Okay,
yes.
Ms.
Just so
Mitchell,
everyone
go ahead.
Knows what's,
All right.
what we're going to talk about.
Okay, pull the microphone.
I'm sorry.
And then introduce yourself and your position.
I'm Deborah Mitchell. I'm the Community Development Block Grant Program Coordinator for the Township of Franklin. And tonight, we are here to consider the fifth and final year of the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Action Plan 2010 to 2014. This year, the Township of Franklin will receive $254,170 through a series of meetings with the Finance Committee of the Township and with our Parkside resident input here. We have a spending plan for this year that has been published in the newspaper and on the Township webpage. The allocation of funds for this year, $77,000 to our housing rehab program that includes administration, $19,076 to Wallen Senior Residents for kitchen renovations, $10,000 to the Sisters Network for sidewalk replacement, $40,000 to Franklin Township Food Bank for an emergency generator, $9,635 toward Parkside Senior Housing accessible entry door, $9,500 towards the Center for Great Expectations playground replacement, and in the public service category, there was $38,125 allocated as follows: Family and Community Services, $5,700. Home sharing, $5,700. The Boys and Girls Circle Club Recreation Department, $6,895. Central Jersey Housing Resource Center for Housing Counseling, $5,736. The Center for Great Expectations Child Care Program, $5,700. Franklin Township Food Bank for their Community Farm Program, $1,500. And to the Franklin Township Recreation Summer Camp, $6,894. $50,834 was allocated for planning and administrative expenses for the upcoming year. This concludes the activities planned for next year and will complete that 5-year cycle of our consolidated plan.
Okay. No, I stated that incorrectly. Okay, it's 5th-year, 5-year plan, but we are voting on the specifics of this year's plan as outlined by Ms. Mitchell. So we're going to go to the public hearing. If you have questions on any of these items or comments, we're glad to hear it. We've opened it for a public hearing. So anyone, same items of 5 minutes. If you spoke before, you can certainly speak again because this is a different subject. So anyone who wishes to speak on Community Development Block Grant, please raise your hand. Mr. Tibbs.
Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside. I just want to be clear on a couple of things. So the money has been allocated for the wheelchair access for 25 Parkside?
The grant recommendation that Ms. Mitchell just spoke about is half the cost of the door, and I've been given every assurance by RPM's management that they will be funding the other half of the door so that the door will be installed once the grant is awarded.
Thank you, thank you. That's what we're looking for.
That's what they wanted.
Clap for that.
Yeah.
What you want? Okay. Secondly, you said the end of 2010 to 2014. Is that the end of the block program?
No, this is the end of that cycle.
Of that cycle?
So
Now
I think we'll start a new 5-year cycle next year, probably. Okay.
next year.
Assuming the federal government.
Thank you very much.
Operating.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who wants to speak on Community Development Block Grant?
So you got your door, okay, that you need, that you really need.
Mr. Mayor,
wonderful.
upon seeing no one else raising their hand or getting up to walk to the mic, I make a motion to close this portion of the public session for this item.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Now comes our vote on the actual resolution for these particular items. This is item 9B on the agenda, Resolution 14-298, approval of fiscal year 2014 Community Development Block Grant Program, 2014 Action Plan, fifth and final year of the 2010-2014 Consolidated Plan. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved.
Mr. Mayor.
Seconded. Councilman Kramer.
Perhaps the manager can answer this, so you don't have to bother coming up, but so we are only paying for half the door, RPM's paying for the other half?
Well, we're not paying for anything. The federal government is
Yes.
paying for it.
Thank you, very well put. But the money that the federal government was going to pay for the other half of the door is going where now?
When the original spending plan was presented to financial oversight, there was a full 18 and change, give or take, $19,000 for the door allocated to the senior building. Through negotiation with RPM, we got RPM, the operator of the senior building, to agree to pay for half the door, and the other half is going towards the Great Expectations playground allocation that Ms. Mitchell spoke about.
So all of it's going there? I thought it was getting split.
No, it's not, that was the request for Great Expectations.
All I wanted to know, thank you.
Okay. Other comments? Okay.
Call the
I'll make
question.
my comment then. Okay. We are, the seniors at here, they need the door, and it should be in, and I'm for us paying for it, only because RPM didn't step up to the plate. And they do a great job, they built great things, but frankly, they're a profit-making company. Their executives make six figures a year. They're very profitable, and they could have come up with the extra $9,000 to pay for it. Instead, money we could have used for other projects in town, we're putting to the door because we don't want to see these people put off. I'm disappointed in them, though, again, caveat is they're a good company, they've done good work in town, they have been concerned, but bogus arguments of not having enough money, and this is only built a few years ago. It may have been up to code, but I think I'm going to dare say, I'm not an architect, but I think their architects fell down on the job because they should have put this in there. No, they're seniors, they should have put in a door, so I'm disappointed in their architects, and they can certainly write or call me if they disagree with what I'm saying. That all being said, I'm going with the program because they deserve it, and I don't want to punish certain people because I'm disappointed in others. And those are my comments. If none others, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the Resolution 14-298, the 2014 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Okay. Ms. Mitchell, thank you much for the time and effort. Okay. Councilman Wright?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to rearrange our agenda by moving a standing committee report, D, Land Use, Open Space, Parks and Recreation, before 10, which would be public session, and/or you can move all the standing committees before 10, but I think the only thing that we need to move right this particular time would be Land Use, Open Space, Parks and Recreation.
Mr. Mayor, I second that, and if you've seen us up here whispering, that's what this is about, and the whole purpose of it is for everyone to hear about the land use thing. It has to do with Middle Bush Park, and it moves some information up before the public session, so you'll have a little bit more knowledge during the public session. So that's what all the secrecy was about up here. So I second that.
Okay. So the motion is to move item 11D, which is our Land Use, Open Space, Parks and Recreation Committee report, that's Committee of Council, to before public discussion because that may have information regarding Middle Bush Park and other things which may answer questions at a time. So the motion is moved to amend the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. So now we're at item 11D, Land Use, Open Space, Parks and Recreation. And Councilman Wright, you want to give that
Thank you,
report?
Mr. Mayor. On the first thing we need to bring up would be the Middlebush Park screening and landscaping project. What we did was we discussed it with the township manager, our township planner, our township engineer, Mr. Zelnick, and our township planner, Mark Healy, along with our township manager, Mr. Vornlacher. We went down the list to find out what we could do to cover up, hide, put in front of the residents some type of screening. Now, the trees that we looked at, we left that alone. We know they're going to be trees. What type of tree we didn't get into or anything like that. We just looked at and left all of that information with Tom Zelnick. Now, at this particular moment, I'm going to go on down to the township manager, because what you're going to find out is at certain points, I'm just going to look down there and he's just going to go.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Wright. And as Councilman Wright stated, at the Land Use Committee meeting, which was held on Friday, one of the things that I spoke with the council members on the Land Use Committee, along with Mr. Zelnick, our township engineer, was on an inspection of the property that both he and I did with several council people several weeks ago. It became apparent that we needed to make an attempt to improve the screening. And while Councilman Wright is correct, we did not make decisions on how we will do that. What I have done is directed Mr. Zelnick to come up with cost estimates on various forms of screening, both plantings and fences, where we can then, and I say we collectively, council and staff, meet with the residents who are directly affected by the lack of screening, so that we could come to a consensus on what type of screening we will do. There's been a number of different ideas thrown out about the types of plantings that can be done, where the certain plantings would be effective in certain areas, that those plantings would not be effective in others, so there would be a mixed use of plantings, as well as fencing. And again, no decision has been made on the type of fencing. The idea here that we seek the input of the residents who are directly affected by that, and that is, on this particular topic, something that I think needs to be discussed tonight by council as to how we'll proceed with that process, and who will lead that process of involvement with the residents that are affected by the lack of screening as a result of the development of the park.
Can I interrupt it?
Yes, you may.
1 second. As far as the residents that are being directly affected in this particular area, could you sort of clue us in as to what streets are involved?
Well, it's going to be a section of Charles Street and a section of Gauguin Way. There are homes that have direct views of the park that previously did not have a direct view. As we walked along the wood line that is near the synthetic turf fields, that because of the way cedar trees grow and the fact that the branches begin high, it opens up to the homes that are along that side of Charles Street, open views into the park, where there would be a benefit of screening there. And then again, at the end of Gauguin Way, where the park completely opens up to the residences at the end of the street, certainly that's the area where we'll look to put not only fencing, but certainly some plantings as well. But that's the area for the fence that we've discussed. And that is also part of actually the original plan. This is just now it's part of the entire process that we're looking to get accomplished here.
So at this particular point, do you want us to discuss that issue, or do you want me to?
Well, I think that I believe that you as council need to give me direction as your manager as to how you wish to proceed with involving the residents of this area, and how we begin the process of determining what the screening will be.
Might I suggest that we wait till, the purpose of this was to inform the public so they could speak on this, and maybe they will influence that vote.
And I agree. I'm not calling it for it at exactly, 8:26 PM right now. I'm saying that I need to be given direction by my council as to how you wish me to proceed on this particular topic. If you give me direction today, that would be wonderful. So that was the discussion about screening. And like I said, there's, Mr. Zilnick is assembling cost estimates, and he was given a deadline of June 30th. No coincidence that I gave him that deadline of June 30th, because we also have a public hearing on another park project, Catalpa, on June 30th, so that if there was anything to report back, then I could do that at that meeting.
Okay,
Thank you. We have one more little section here.
okay.
The Middle Bush Park sound system. We discussed the following in respects to that sound system. And two of the bullet points that we came up with: the township would retain an expert to assist the township in development of performance specifications to minimize the potential impact to the neighbors. Part two of that, these performance specifications would be included in the bid request, and respondents would be required to prove that their proposals meet the specified parameters outlined in the bid. The matters would then be reviewed by the Open Space Advisory Committee and the Land Use Committee for their input. Now, at this particular moment, I'm going to throw it down to the township manager.
Thank you once again. So I believe that what Councilman Wright is speaking about as far as the Land Use Committee meeting is my recommendation that I felt after certainly sitting through several council meetings and several committee meetings that there needed to be a true understanding of what the science of sound is. We are very lucky in that we are a municipality in close proximity to Rutgers University. And Rutgers University has a Noise Technical Assistance Center. It is actually headed by a former member of our Environmental Commission, Eric Zwirling. And Mr. Zwirling is certainly considered an expert in the field. In fact, he's widely published to include articles such as regulation of amplified sound sources, turning down the volume, effective strategies for community noise enforcement, and the like. We have reached out to the Rutgers Noise Technical Assistance Center, and we are going to be requesting that they assist us in not only educating council and staff as to how the effects of these sound systems and the effects of sound in general, but also hopefully educating our public as well as to what it means to have a noise ordinance that limits things to 65 decibels. And unless you are a scientist involved in the process of regulating sound, you may not understand what 65 decibels is and how the science of sound works. So we have, we have reached out to Rutgers University for this purpose to assist us not only in education, but then in the event that we proceed on this, then they will also assist us in that process as well.
So at this particular point, are you asking us, well, at this particular point, I would like to make a motion that we send this out to Rutgers for this type of study.
Well, and so, Councilman, it certainly is the recommendation of the Land Use Committee that we do this, and I'm not stepping on toes. What I'm saying to you is, I have already done that.
Okay.
All right. I certainly did not feel that I needed to wait until this night's meeting to do that. This can be done whether or not you choose to take some other course of action at this point. I'll go along with my recommendation to land use, and it is the same recommendation that I make to full council. We have no staff members who are qualified to make these judgments, and therefore we need to go to qualified experts. Like I said, luck has it that across the entire United States, Rutgers University is the only entity at this point that continues to do what this all started with the Office of Noise Abatement and Control, which came out of the US EPA, and there were regional centers throughout the United States up until the 1980s. Rutgers University is in fact the only regional center still in existence. So this is it. If you're going to find the experts, we can't find anybody other than these people. So that's why I've already done what I've done.
So basically, we don't need to take a vote this evening. It's already done. You're going to send it to the Land Use Committee once you're done with that, and then we'll proceed down the road from there. We'll make another
I think
decision.
that what we're going to do, the very first thing is I'm going to meet with people from Rutgers,
Right.
and then I'm going to attempt to schedule a time where they can come here as a council discussion item and explain all of the implications of our noise ordinance and the enforcement of our noise ordinance versus stricter or more lax regulations. And then council can make a decision on performance guidelines, and then we can go from there if the decision is to pursue a sound system at that point.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I'd
Councilman.
just like to add, because
Prasad?
I'm a member of the Land Use Committee, and I would want to be sure that when the manager is tasking them with a recommendation or educating us, they should also educate us on the latest technology options available in noise abatement so that we can basically make sure that we have considered all options for the most inobtrusive system that preserves the quality of life that the residents have been used to. And so at least we should have those options. We can discuss it and then decide exactly what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
So would appreciate that being added there, and that we have the latest technology options, whether it's Wi-Fi or whatever, but let's have it.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll get this list to you so you don't have to write it down quickly. I will be asking questions about the effect of distance on sound, frequency effects on sound attenuation, wind, temperature, humidity. My guess is they'll be able to answer those off the top of their head, but
I'm thinking, based on his
Right, but-
background in education, yes.
yes. But I will provide that list so that they won't be surprised.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that would conclude the land use report, so
Okay.
unless there's something else.
So just to be clear, the only thing we're voting on tonight is about that screening.
I think that the only thing that you're voting on tonight is how to give me direction on who among you 9 will be the people who have interaction, because unless we want to sunshine a special meeting on choosing screening and getting the input of residents, if this is going to be a meeting outside of a regular council meeting, then we can either sunshine it as all 9 of you can be there, or you can choose 4 and not exceed the quorum level, and we can proceed with scheduling a meeting after June 30th, once we have all of the data collected on the different types of screening to be used
Or
or
how about,
potentials.
how about the option that the manager, that we let you decide, or is...
That's certainly a
Or do you
third
not want-
option. I
not
have
want to stand
never
in
once
front
since
of
I've
that
been up
bullet?
here tried to remove anything from the elected officials, but if you wish to leave that in my hands, I'd be more than
That
happy
sounds
to do
very
that.
interesting, and I would definitely go down that road.
And the only reason is because I think 9 people will want to be on that committee, and I don't want that fight.
And,
No,
and-
Phil,
and
please.
one
No.
who will not. But no, yes, absolutely. I would be
Wait.
more than happy, along with staff, to moderate that meeting with residents to get their input. Absolutely.
Very
That's the best.
So once again, that
So
would,
we
Land
don't need a
use
vote, it
report.
sounds like.
No, we don't.
that would end the land use report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, so basically, we're not approving or disapproving a sound system. We're going to Rutgers to say, give us information, just so we have information. And number 2 was going forward on some screening and such as that. So again, the sound system is still not being on the table. So what we're going to do now is go to public hearing, public discussion. This will be the only time in the meeting to discuss things of any general nature. Afterwards, there'll be a couple items on some spending and bond. You can speak on those items in particular, but this is the only time to speak of things of a general nature. So this is item 10 on the agenda. And is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest, which does not have a public hearing of its own. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand when I recognize you. Come to the podium, give us your name and address. Yes, sir, you can come first. And then yeah, you can come on. Just our general rules once more. Our policy is each person come up once per meeting, well, per session. So if you came up before to speak of something, you come up now. Ask you, limit your time to 5 minutes, and there'll be a timer when you hear tone goes off. That means you have 3 minutes has elapsed. After multiple tones, that's 5 minutes. I'll ask you to wrap up your thoughts. Please direct all your comments to the council. People can come up once per meeting, and we don't allow yielding of time either. And please note again, we're being audio, videotape, broadcast on our cable access channel. So, yes, name and address, please. And
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brian Bidlack, 115 Charles Street. I'd like to make a few, just have a small discussion here on the stadium speaker system proposed for Middlebush Park. That has been an ongoing discussion. We realize that you guys have a heavy workload this evening, a heavy agenda, and we certainly don't want to take up all your time and keep it. Hopefully, everybody can get home tonight before midnight. So, in light of that, what I'd like to do is just ask everybody in the audience here who has a serious concern or objection in regard to the Middlebush speaker system to please stand up at this time.
Okay.
Okay. So,
You should stand up too.
what I would like to do is just make a few comments and hopefully just make some general representations, mainly for the folks that are on Charles Street and Gauguin, and also the general Middlebush area. Okay. So, you know, we've been here the last few meetings and we've talked about the impacts that the park has had on our neighborhood. We've discussed things with council such as the destruction of buffers, the lack of landscaping, the general noise that has come from the park. Most recently, the lighting issues that have arisen as a result of the installation of the lights for the synthetic fields. Residents have got up and spoken about property values and their concerns about that. Residents have got up and spoke about their concerns about the environment and the destruction of wildlife in the general area. We've all had recollections of a significant amount of wildlife in the area. It's no longer present on this side of Charles Street. There's been discussions of some water problems. Water lying in the woods now. It no longer drains the way it used to since the park has been developed. In general, a lot of the discussions have centered around the fact that you know, many of the residents there, we anticipated a much more passive park than what has arisen. Our quality of life has suffered the last few years with the development of this park. So it really has become, and hopefully you'll see this tonight as discussion goes on, this is becoming not only just a concern of residents on Charles and Gauguin Streets, but also a general Middlebush Village concern. There's folks that have gotten up that don't live on Charles or Gauguin, folks from Wilson, folks from Wade Avenue, generally have gotten up and had a concern in regard to this. So then, let's move forward now to just a few comments on the proposed speaker system. I'd like to just put on record our significant concerns in regard to this. We implore the council to please take our comments and our concerns into consideration. We're very concerned about it, not only, once again, from Charles and Gauguin Street, but also the surrounding Middlebush area. One of the comments that was made at the last meeting that I really respect council members saying is, you didn't realize the impact that this park was going to have on the residents and how it actually ended up being developed. It maybe turned out to be a little bit more than some of you had thought, but we are here, we have to deal with it. So what I would like to just say in regard to the planning for this speaker system, I hope we don't get to a position where we're reacting to the impacts of a speaker system like we are now with the development of the park. I hope that we do proper planning, and it turns out that there will not be a major impact for the folks in the Whittle-Bush area. So with that, I say thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tibbs? And you can go after him. You can line up there.
Yeah, I know. This is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside. Councilman Side and Kimberly, I guess you guys know we're here. Did you read the article? I'm sorry I didn't have any articles, any other copies of the articles. I tried to get it to everybody about that particular article. I think Councilman, the Human Relations Council had sent you guys, did you guys get a copy of the letter from, no communications from the Human Relations Council?
I'm going to
did.
talk
Regarding-
about it.
Regarding what?
Regarding,
I'm going to be talking about it.
you will be talking about it?
Okay.
I talked to Gary, and he's given me a whole lot of things to report on.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys are not aware of the letter that went out to you guys, I mean, to the article that went to you guys about the kids in the summer and about the uses of the community grant money that you guys received, $108,000 for the cleaning up all of the debris in the community of Franklin Township, but hopefully I could use some of the kids for the summer for it. But it's in the article, and I hope that you guys read that particular article, and the Human Relations Council thought it was a great idea to use some portion of that particular money for the kids during the summer. I hope that you guys get a copy of the article and report back to the responsible people. I thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Birch from 77 McGuffey Avenue, and I'm questioning if we're having Rutgers come to do research as far as sound. I really think that there should be some expectation to look at the stage house and the sound that they make with the noise with the music on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and even sometime on Thursday nights. I feel that I'm not a scientist, but I feel that the amount of the noise that we hear is significant, and it goes on till 10 o'clock at night, which some people have to get up at 5:30 in the morning and very much need to be in bed by 9. So I would just like consideration in that if Rutgers is coming out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add.
Yes. And you-
The purpose of bringing Rutgers in is to more or less educate the council and then also to assist us in any development of a sound system for the park. The office at Rutgers University that we're approaching is actually the office that trains all noise officers throughout the state. And in fact, we have noise officers both on the police department and the health department. If you have a complaint about noise coming from any particular business, that we already have regulations in place to enforce as far as that noise is concerned. The police department needs to be contacted. I have said this, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but unless that is brought to our attention, then the police department or the health department, if that's the more appropriate agency at the time, won't be sent out to take the noise meter readings to see if there's a violation of the noise ordinance. So if you hear that noise, you need to contact the police department.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Kramer?
So I'm the councilman of that area, and I have heard a lot from people there, and the way it works is the sound can be, the noise can be no louder than a certain amount at the property line of the complainant. So the people who will hear it the loudest are the people on Charles Street. So if someone on Treptow complains, they're going to put up their sound meter and they're going to say, well, it's not as big. And there's other parts of the sound ordinance about music, et cetera, but the people on Charles are the ones who can contribute most to that. So if you call in, I'm concerned about this issue, and the people on Charles are the ones who have the greatest ability to affect this issue. The attorney's looking at me. Okay, I thought maybe I misstepped on the sound ordinance. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. My name is Suzanne Maggio, and I live at 26 Cedarbrook Drive. And I am a 27-year resident of this town. I am 15 years currently in a house that I live behind Sampson G. Smith School. When we moved in there, we were well aware that there were soccer fields there. We have no public address system back there, but I will tell you folks, on certain days, it is like Giant Stadium back there. I can only imagine what it would be like if we had a PA system. So now I'm wondering if they're going to eventually put a PA system back there. So it's not just the people on Gauguin and also Charles Street that will be affected by this. The population is ever increasing in the town, and we all live on relatively small properties, and I think no one expects total silence, but I think because we do live on such small properties, I don't live down in a big piece of property like this woman who was here earlier, and we have to be very respectful of people's noise. And so, as such, when we come home from work, we like to have some peace and quiet. And so my concern is that over time, it's a cumulative effect. We hear Stagehouse, now we hear fireworks, now we're going to hear this. And so for us on Cedarbrook Drive, we already hear soccer without the PA system. Now this is going to be layered on top of it. So I don't know. I'm just really very concerned. I'm really more concerned about the fact that, I don't really know why you would have to bring in an expert. I think that is an interesting way of, I know that. But people in the audience, how my feeling about it, you're going to spend money to have someone come in and say, yeah, you can still hear something, okay? And so it's still ambient noise that gets layered and layered and layered. And I would like to know if any of you people would be personally affected by it. If you live 2 or 3 miles away, you might not. But if it's right in your backyard, which it literally has been in my backyard for 15 years, so I know what I'm talking about, then many times I've actually closed my windows. So I just really, really asked you to listen to the people who are really very concerned, not just about their property values, but about the quality of life. It's a very important issue. And these are just special interest groups, and it's very true that it really pretty much is, the other man put it very well, it is not a park. If it's a park and it's beautiful, why do we need to have bushes to cover it up? That's what I don't understand.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Anyone else want to come up? They can, after him. Oh, yeah, you can come right up there. Oh, you're close enough. You can come up after him. No, it's okay. I was just going to get people to line up a little bit so I don't have to wait much. Okay.
And good evening. I'm Michael Adams. I live on Schilling Drive. I'm also a real estate agent that I live and work in Franklin. I am concerned that the sound system may negatively impact the property values in the surrounding areas, and it's going beyond whatever the ordinances will allow in other streets. I just went through, there's Wade Street, there's Lynch, there's French, there's McGuffey, there's Wilson, there's Hunter's Crossing, there's Nicole, there's Michelangelo, there's Masada, Windsor, Sussex, and Norwich, which buffers this park. And as it was said at a prior meeting, it's more than a park, now it's a sports complex. Okay, so, regarding the Rutgers study, I'm concerned about what the questions are going to be proposed to this committee. They say garbage in, garbage out. You get out what you put in. So be sure to include the effects of sound on property values. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
James Calafiore, 234
Nice to see
Treptow Road. I want to talk about the speakers. This is the first meeting I've been to at it. I'm sorry I didn't know about the other meetings. I'm glad you're having a sound expert come in, but a 7th grade science education will tell you that sound can't be focused. Sound expands, sound reflects off of structures that aren't even there yet. I find the discussion about ordinances somewhat ironic. I always considered ordinances in place to protect us from third parties from coming into the township. And I find it somewhat objectionable that the council is trying to find a way to go up to the limit of our ordinances that were meant to protect us. The money being spent on this was not included in the original. I'm glad that you can find some money for it. I seem to remember several years ago when we let several police officers go because there was no budget for it. That's a necessity. Police officers. This isn't a necessity. This is a want. I want a lot of things. I have necessities. I have what I need. I went to every meeting when the original park was proposed, however many years ago that was. There was no sound system in that park proposal. It comes down to who has rules to play by. I argued against it vehemently, putting all our recreational eggs in one basket. I was told we needed this park, that it was a necessity. Council then voted on it, and I accepted it. I was told it was a need, it's the rules, it was voted, it was passed. The rules for the council are you can come back and start piling things on that weren't even there in the original proposal. It's needs and wants. It's not Patriot Stadium. We don't need kids feeling good, feeling like a ball player coming up to their music. I don't think people are not going to be able to hear what's happening out on the field. They don't need it announced. This is not a need, this is a want. A need, you try and mitigate the effect on the public. A want, you don't just create a problem. So this should not be going through at all. And I hope the council will consider if they live there and how much this is going to cost the township. And this budget money you can find for this, I think could go to a need, much easier to a need. And how much will this cost the council in the long run? What if homeowners decide to take action against the township for the lowering of their property values because of this? Who knows? But this shouldn't be done at all. This is a want, this isn't a need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who has, yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, then you. Yeah, you can go after him then.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
council members, my name is Bob Maggio. I live at 26 Cedar Brook Drive. Save your money. No sound system. No expert coming in, taking our money. It's not needed. I just found out about this yesterday. So I went online, and I wanted to find out, where do you all live? Well, I made little dots on my map. I'm the closest one of all of you. I live 0.3 miles away, 1,500 or 1,600 feet. One of your council members that's not here tonight lives 8.4 miles away. The rest of you live, one of you lives within a mile. The rest of you live around 2 miles away. It's not going to affect you. It's going to affect us. I live east of the park. The wind blows from west to east. We get every sound that comes from Stagehouse. We get every sound that comes from Sampson G. Smith soccer fields. We get every sound that comes from fireworks, whether it be Patriot Stadium or the Palace at Somerset Park. I've lived here for 27 years. It's gotten really bad. The noise is noise. I don't care if you have these experts come in and control noise. Noise is noise. The decibel level does not matter. I have neighbors that are inconsiderate. They blast their speakers and have a party. I come home from work after working 12 hours. I expect to sit outside. I expect to even be in my home with windows open. But no, I hear all of that inside my house. Now I'm going to hear this every weeknight, every weekend, whenever you feel like having a game. We're talking about children here. We're talking about recreation. They don't need play-by-play. It's not a professional stadium. It's not a professional place. There's no room for a professional place here around these residences. I respectfully ask for you to consider dropping this entire sound system. You're going to hear it. Everybody's going to hear it. A little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there. This has been going on for years and years and years. I call the police about sound problems. They come and I basically get laughed at. But you know what? We can't take it anymore. It's layers on layers. It eats away at people. It eats away at the quality of life and just the person in general. And that's why I feel, and I'm speaking the way I am, and my emotions are the way they are. You need to consider what you're doing. Remember, you don't live there. We all live there. You need to vote this down. Either that or you can buy my house. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Lorraine Shanks. I live at 29 Magnolia Road. I too just got this notice yesterday about the speakers. I'd like to know, when was this decided to put speakers in at this park? Was it 2 days ago? Why did I just get a notice about it on a little card that normally I think people would throw in the trash? So otherwise you really wouldn't even know. But me reading everything that I get comes to my home, I saw this. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. I moved here about 5 years ago from Scotts Plains. Beautiful, quiet neighborhood. Figured I would move again closer because my daughter was in Rutgers, so we can be closer to her. We thought it was a beautiful block. Quiet. After the first night, traffic unbelievable. So we've been fighting about traffic on our block. And now we're going to have to deal with noise on the weekends? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What would that do to my property value? My husband is already complaining we're not going to stay here long because we can't deal with the noise. And they just have not been able to come up with what to do for the block. They were thinking about speed bumps. Some of the people on the block don't want speed bumps, so we haven't not come up with the solution. Now noise. It's not fair. We're already concerned about our property values because of the high traffic. Now every weekend I'm going to have to deal with noise? It's unfair. How would you like it if they put a sports complex near your property where every weekend this is what you have to deal with? Can I sue the city? Can I call the police on the park to tell them, shut the noise? like I would a neighbor? Who is this vote up to? Is it really up to the people who pay the taxes? Or is it up to the council or who's building the park to run the rules, to call the shots? It's the taxpayers. Taxes are high. Right now we have one income in our home. Thank God we can live there and still very comfortably. But we have one income right now. Taxes are high. This is not a low-income neighborhood. Why can't I live here in peace with a good quality of life? My property value demands that. I am not in a low-income neighborhood where anything goes. You don't need someone to come in to tell you that the sound is going to be good, because that's what they will do. We're on to that. No speakers. Will there be another vote? Will we get another postcard in the mail? How will the process go from here? Is there going to be another vote on this? Will it be the public to vote? If the public says we don't want it, will they just do away with it? That's the real question. Will they do away with it? Most of the people here are about these speakers. A lot of people left, but I see a lot of, everybody stood up about these speakers. Is it up to the public who pay the taxes? Or is it up to the committee and the people who own the park? That's what I'd like to know. And is there going to be another vote? And I think that this time, more than a postcard, I have to find out who sent this to me. Will we get more than a little postcard as a notice?
Yes, you will.
Yes, you will. We sent it.
Oh, thank you. I was going to email you
Okay,
guys.
direct
Okay,
your
but,
comments here, and just, there hasn't been a vote. It's all just inquiry. Nothing's been decided.
But what I asked, though, if there is a vote, and we vote no, what's going to happen? You're just going to do what you want anyway?
Well, like all resolutions and things of the town, you elect representatives who make the vote, who vote.
We elect representatives to make the vote. The public and the people who pay the taxes should be the ones that make the vote. We live here. We're subjected to this, and we should not have to be subjected to this.
Okay, wrap up your thoughts. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to tell them how that postcard got out?
Pardon me?
How that postcard went out?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, the residents sent it out.
Yes.
I believe that the postcard, and I won't speak for the residents in the audience, but I believe the postcard that the lady received was from one of her neighbors. The township is not in the regular business of notification of requesting people to attend council meetings. There is no vote, and there has been no vote on a sound system. This has just simply been a discussion item up to this point, and continues to be a discussion item. There has not been a decision to fund it, to have one, or what type if there is one. And I've said that on a number of occasions at each meeting, and I continue to say it. No decision has been made by this council as to whether or not there will be a sound system, or if there is one, what type there will be. I don't know if I can be any clearer than that.
Okay, the woman, you've got the floor. Go ahead. Thanks.
My name is Catherine Semini at 19 Hunters Crossing Road. I think you know that I am not in favor of any sound system for the park. I would like to also ask anyone in this audience for whom they would imagine, having listened to me prior in the meetings that I am representing, to feel free to stand. I want to say thank you to the council, because clearly, based on the last meeting we had and your comments to the last meeting that we had, it's clear to us, to me, and to those who are standing, that there's a certain amount that's sinking in. We really do not want to have more noise layered on top of other noise, and I think we all know that. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I want to save you time. We agreed, we thought a few of us would get up and represent the group. And I just want to say, we think we've been heard. And for those people who are new here, who have just gotten to this council meeting and just got the notes, yes, it was one of the members, one of the neighbors, who took it upon himself to send it, but it is in support because the rest of us neighbors are kicking in for the finance of it. And the reason that happened was because this council did not decide to notify a larger group last time we had a meeting. There was a proposal on the table, and it was relatively not supported to notify a larger group, only the small group, and you didn't want to set a precedent. So we took it in our hands to notify our neighbors. Okay? Councilman Kramer notified me. He took it in his hands, and Councilman Sherman notified her constituents, and that's how you got us in the first place. So we're really not going to go away, and you know that. I think you know that. And we're sympathetic. We don't want to really just continuously occupy your time. What I really want to say is that we want to be respectful of you. So everybody can kind of sit down now. What I really want to say is we want to be respectful of you. And in athletics, and you know, I'm a coach. I was a coach anyway. I was an athlete at one time. And I was an official, so I know that whistle that I had, the end when that whistle is blown, somebody wins and somebody loses, because that's athletics. The end of the game, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. But life doesn't have to be like that. This council doesn't operate like that. Sometimes, maybe, you really want to make sure somebody doesn't get their way, but you don't have to operate like that. We could actually all win. I, myself, and now I'm speaking only for myself, am not disturbed that you're bringing in an expert. I do want to tell you, Mr. Vornlacher, and I hope I pronounced your name properly, that we had a little app on our cell phone back there, which measured your decibels, and you were speaking at 75 decibels.
And yes, and I will tell you that the normal tone of voice for an adult male is about 65 to 70. I'm amplified, obviously, but there is a science to decibels that deals with some things like half of 70 is 35, but half the sound is not 35 decibels of 70. And the idea here is to bring in people who truly understand it so they can give examples, perhaps they can actually present examples so that everyone understands the difference between 65 decibels and 20, and it's not just that it's 45 less.
Okay,
So
I'm encouraged by that. I don't think that's a bad waste of money, because it's clearly a sore subject for all of us. So
And I don't know that it will cost money at this particular
Okay, well,
point.
even better. There you go. I love getting some for free. But in any event, you know, we can both win at this game. We really can. We can both win at this game. And in the words of Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, you don't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll get what you need. And I think that's where we're all coming from. But of course, what we need is certainly not to have amplified sound in our homes, in our yards, disturbing constantly. Now, Councilman Kramer presented last week an idea of using Wi-Fi. And I want you to know, because Councilman Wright, you said this isn't going to work. Somebody's going to be unhappy. But the truth of the matter is that this exists right now in New Jersey, perhaps not exactly what Councilman Kramer described, but it does exist. There is a app for a cell phone called Score Zone.
Okay, I have to ask you to wrap
Okay,
up here.
I'm wrapping it up.
I want to hear from everyone here.
And there is an
that-
app called Beyond the Air. And if you combine those two apps, you can have the compromise that Councilman Kramer presented last week. And I believe, Councilman Wright, everybody will be happy.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Ms. Meany. Okay, anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak? Anyone else after her could start to line up? Yeah, yes.
Good
Right
evening.
there.
I'm Lynn Feist, 1 Terry Terrace. I had no idea that a speaker system was contemplated for the park. I found out from it from one of our concerned citizens Memorial Day weekend. I had no idea of what the plans were, so in order to make an informed decision as a citizen whether I was for or against it, I sent a letter to Councilman Wright, you, Mayor Levin, and the 3 at-large councilmen. I am still waiting for a response. As far as I know, I was not notified about the meeting. No one acknowledged getting my email. And not to put too much of a point on it, it left me concerned as to the transparency of this entire procedure. If we have someone coming in doing a sound evaluation, and we are trying to get some input from the people like myself who will be affected by it, will we be notified? I looked on the township website. I found nothing. I checked, I Googled it. I found nothing. The only way I found out about this meeting is from the postcard. The only way I found out what was planned with the park was because my hairdresser gave me a link to an article online. That's not how we should be doing things in Franklin Township. We should be notifying people, we should be letting people know what's going on in town, and we should be letting people participate in our democratic government.
Okay. And I'm just going to, you can come, just want to interject, I'm just going to repeat what Mr. Vornlocker said. There's been no decisions made, nothing's been proposed, nothing's even close at this point. It's all just inquiry. Should we side? So, what's the side?
I mean, the only thing I have to add to that is that this is the democratic process. You just participated in it. You just spoke at an open public meeting. This was not an agenda item on tonight's meeting. It has not been an agenda item except for one meeting about a month and a half or 2 months ago when there was a representative of a sound system company that came in and talked about a potential proposal. But this is the public portion of this meeting, and anyone can speak on any topic. I believe the mayor does his intro at the beginning of the meeting, the public portion. This is not an agenda item of this council meeting. This is just a discussion among residents with the council. And that's, I think, Mr. Mayor, what we're trying to get a point across today.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, we have to, I have to keep us on track. Miss, go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening. Craig Edford, 57 French Street. I've been a resident of Franklin Township since 1972, and about that time, I lived about a quarter mile from the Franklin Township Little League field. So I'm no expert in sound, but at that point I listened to the experts in sound, and they said that the PA system at the Little League field would not have an adverse effect on people's lives. Well, they weren't exactly correct. I lived about a half mile from the former Franklin Township High School, and when they put the PA system on the football field, maybe the same experts, maybe others, came in and said this will not have an effect on your lives, but it did. So now I live a quarter mile from Stagehouse. I don't know who the sound experts were there, but the story is the same. So there's two things that I'd like our council members to consider when they speak to these experts. One, they're from Rutgers. Rutgers Stadium acoustics are entirely different than a flat open field. So the sound response is not going to be the same, and you need to press them on that issue, because the sound will travel on a flat meadow for miles. The second thing is that we put up with 65 decibels here, 65 there, 65 here. So if you take Amwell Road, Stagehouse, and the sound system at the park, what does that add up to? So that's what you have to look at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken? Yes, ma'am, come on.
My name is Ruth Ball. I live at 19 Barclay Court. I've heard some great comments tonight, which were terrific. I wasn't aware of the issue of the sound. I live very close to the park, walk my dog near there. I was really surprised. I hadn't been there for a while. Couldn't believe how developed it was. I guess my question to the council is, who does want a sound system? I mean, who's pushing for a sound system? Is a sound system part of the, it sounds like it wasn't the part of the original plan, so who made the decision that it is even in discussion? Could someone answer that on the council? Yes, sir.
Councilman Wright?
No, I thought you were going to answer the question. No, who wants the sound system and why? Because I've heard from a lot of the people who are obviously concerned. I certainly am, but there might be another side I'm not aware of. So.
Pop Warner football, perhaps soccer would.
And is that normal for Pop Warner I mean, I grew up around the corner from a stadium in Hillside, New Jersey. We had teeny tiny, almost like a bullhorn. They played Pop Warner, Hillside High School, but not giant speakers the way they are today. Everyone was sort of happy with it. Maybe it's sort of Mayberry RFD, but I just didn't really understand why we'd have these giant speakers. I mean, it isn't professional.
Mm-hmm.
So is that part of a requirement for Pop Warner?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Ms. Doyle.
Regina Doyle, 127 Winchester Way, Somerset. I'm a resident of the township for 59 years. My two sons played Little League ball. They had no sound system. They did very well playing Little League ball. I've been opposed to this park since it started. I live right down here in Quailbrook. And I cannot see any reason to put a park like this, a sports complex, as some people called it, here when you have a nursing home, you have a assisted living, and all these residents around here. So why do we need a park of this size in this area? It should have been out on Randolph Road or South Middlebush Road where there's a lot of open space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone who hasn't spoke would like to address us? Yes, ma'am. Anyone else at this point? Okay.
Yes, my name is Catherine Fabix, resident for 35 years. I live at 43 Cedarbrook Drive, resident of Cedarbrook Drive for 24 years. We live across the street from Sampson G. Smith School. Hear the soccer every Saturday and Sunday all day long. The coach is screaming at the kids' names, calling them out. There's no sound system. My three children played soccer in the township. They're now 24 to 33 years old. They did just fine without a PA system. We went traveling soccer, traveled around to many other towns. They had bleachers. They had nice fields, no sound system. Soccer tournaments for a whole weekend. They had many hundreds of kids playing soccer at the same time. We realized the need for more fields in the town. Years ago, it was proposed to be a passive park on Middlebush Road. That's why we all live in Middlebush, because of the nice area, the peace and quiet, the property values. Like I said, we do pay taxes. I mean, there's no reason for a sound system. We used to be able to hear from St. Matthias Carnival the guys shouting out about a 50-50 every year, but it was like, well, it's only for 1 week. You can hear them shouting about a 50-50 all night long for a whole week. But I guess people complained or whatever because this year I didn't hear it, or else my windows were closed. But there's no reason for a sound system at a park. It's supposed to be a passive park for kids to have fun and play a game. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Tom Moran. I live at 5 Hunters Crossing Road, president of the Homeowners Association in Hunters Crossing. I know this meeting isn't about the sound system, but we get a chance to speak about it anyway. I look forward to when we will have a meeting specifically about the sound system because I agree with Mr. Warnlocker. This is the time for public discussion. This is the time for the democratic process. And more so now than after we already have 70-foot tall lights, and I think you made the statement 2 weeks ago to a gentleman, I can't do anything about the lights now, they're already in. I can try to get them out of your window. Well, I don't want to have that conversation about the sound system. Mayor Levine has said there's no proposal for a sound system, but a month ago, a company came in to make a proposal, and we're having Rutgers take a look at what the effect of the sound system will be, but there's no proposal for a sound system. This is for the kids. Nobody's opposed to the park. Nobody's opposed to the fields. My kids grew up on the soccer fields around town. It's a great town. Sports are great for the kids. The lights are a bit much, and the sound system will be even more too much. I urge you to take the time and the consideration now so that we don't have to say, I made a mistake. I thought the berms were a good idea. I didn't know we were going to take down all the trees. Please, let's do this right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoke would like to address the council?
Mr. Mayor.
The woman over here, okay.
Rosalind Gherkin, 268 Hazlitt Way. I've lived in Franklin Township for 43 years, first in the Foxwood-Levitt area, and for the past 21 years, I've lived in Quailbrook. My home is halfway between Treptow and DeMott Lane. My question is short and simple. Ladies and gentlemen, you hear us, but are you listening to us?
Thank you. I'll say Ms. Gherkin has a certain amount of expertise in municipal matters. Her husband used to be the town manager.
Yes, he was. And Ms. Gherkin and I have had some discussions about that.
Okay, fine.
Okay, anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak here?
Mr. Mayor, upon seeing no one raise their hand or getting up from their chair, I will make a motion to close the public session.
So, seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Okay, so here's what's going to happen now. We're going to go through some standing committee reports. There'll be council comment. People may or may not say anything about this. Then go on to the rest of the meeting where we've got some ordinances. So we go to item number 11 now, standing committee reports. So the first is administration. Anyone doing administration? Oh,
Kimberly.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Councilwoman Francois.
Okay, so we had a meeting, and we still need to set a date to have the health department come in from the county and give the full council a overview on the performance of the contract, so we can make some determination about the renewal going forward.
Mr. Mayor, I heard
yes.
back from the county, and they said that they're available to come before the August meeting.
Okay, so tentatively, are we suggesting that might be at 6? For
Yes, the hour before.
If we can't come to a quick decision, we'll do it offline. If we can, we'll just throw it in.
What date is that?
Tuesday, August 12th at 6 p.m. I'm guessing.
For the Department of
Yes,
Health?
August 12th at 6 p.m.
For the Department of Health?
Yes.
For the Department of Health.
I mean, I will be on vacation, but feel free to have that meeting without me. Don't read.
It's fine with me.
August 12th.
Okay.
August 12th.
If you
6
have a
o'clock.
plan, go for it.
Yeah, Health Department.
I have a town council meeting that night, so.
Okay, we'll try and get that done first. When's it start?
6 o'clock.
You don't have to attend.
All right, I'll miss my town council meeting to come.
All right. Is that a general consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, Ms. McCarthy. Sunshine it appropriately.
That was one of the items we discussed. The other item we
Thank you.
discussed, alcohol use in public meetings, public
Buildings.
facilities, buildings, and the public meetings. Wrong use of word, in public buildings. And we decided that we did not think it was appropriate for the township to allow that in our public facilities such as the senior community center. However, we would like to direct the manager and the township attorney to adopt a resolution for Van Wickle House.
The Meadows property.
To take that, the Meadows properties as a whole, to draft an ordinance amendment that would allow for an easier process for the Meadows
property,
Foundation's buildings.
The Meadows
Meadows
Foundation's buildings, okay. Oh, my goodness, and I think that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have financial oversight. Councilman Kramer.
Why, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at financial oversight, and I'm actually going to give the Public Works review at the same time, since there was an overlap and I was the only one that happened to be at Public Works. But one thing that was discussed at Public Works and then again at financial oversight was changing fees for the, what many people call the mini dump, what we call the convenience center. And that would be actually to make free the drop-off of brush, electronics, metal, and which includes batteries. The reasons are that the brush is of very little expense to us since we grind our own brush, and then we give the brush out as mulch to members of the community, or we use it around town. So it costs us virtually nothing to collect that brush. The electronics we bring to a facility that we have a contract with, which is on Apgar Lane, and it's just good for the community to recycle electronics. So those will be accepted for free. Also, we make money on the metal that people bring in, so we perhaps we'll get more of that metal if we don't charge for it to bring in, and batteries are part of that. So on those items, and just those items, we're looking to do that for free. And I guess because some of those fees are set by ordinance, we will ask our township attorney with our manager to fix that. Then in the, now strictly to the financial oversight meeting, there has been some discussion about the Veterans Memorial Monument. Ms. Francois, do you want me to talk about that, or did you? Okay, thank you. Because Ms. Francois was very involved with this. The veterans came to her, and I stepped in because I was a veteran. And they originally were asking for $36,000. This money is money that we have already bonded for, and some of the money for it came from people buying, what do you call them? No, not from there?
No.
Just from the...
All of the money remaining was the original 2003 bond ordinance
Okay.
to build the monument. There's still a balance. There is also a separate trust that you're speaking about from the sale of pavers, but that is a separate trust dedicated to the maintenance of the existing monument.
So rather than, thank you, so rather than go through all the steps of where we wound up, we're talking about a $26,000 monument that will go, for those of you familiar with it, at the portion of the park closest, or the memorial closest to Demont Lane. It will be another monument, kind of an obelisk with a globe and an eagle on top. And we will remove the water fountain from the center, one, because it's not working, and two, it kind of gets in the way of the ceremonies. And I had the gentleman involved say to me the words, "This is it." Both of them said this is it, that there will be nothing more to the park except in the regrettable circumstance that unfortunately often befalls this nation of further wars and memorializing the fallen in those wars. The other issue was and that was unanimous consent of advice of the financial oversight. The health department was discussed. Our contract is coming near an end with them. We currently contract Somerset County to be our health department. We spend $567,000 to do that. We gave up our own health department to allow them to do it for us, or to spend to do, and we are paying them to do it for us. Kind of at a combination among both financial oversight and admin. It was agreed between the two that we have no problem with the service they provide. The state has not found them to be at fault in anything. We are not getting complaints from residents. So we did not feel that we need to investigate if they're applying the proper or providing the proper service, but we will be investigating whether we are paying the correct amount for that service. So that will be the investigation going forward. And then, as we have been discussing in the past, the separation of the services we provide, whether they are mandated or whether they are voluntary on the part of the town, and what those costs are, and we will have a grand talk on that at the end. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And, okay, so there's a 2-for-1 sale on public safety, right?
Public
safety.
Public safety. We didn't have a meeting.
I mean,
We're
public works
scheduled-
was. Okay.
Will be
Sorry.
a public safety. Our next meeting is scheduled for, actually prior to the next council meeting, July 8th.
Okay, so already did land use, just did public works or council comments. Okay, by default, I'm over here. I lost my left half.
Oh, comments.
Councilman James Vassanella.
That's why you just started that in. Right.
I was trying.
Well, I was able to listen to some of the I was able to listen to some of the comments via technology on the way here. I came straight from work. Obviously, the last several weeks, we've heard many of the comments. Just echo what I believe the manager referred to, that there is not anything we're voting on, at least that I'm aware of, anytime soon. I know myself and some others felt it would be good to put it out over our website and our message system, alert system, when there actually is a report that would come forward, or any kind of proposal, or any kind of vote. So I'm optimistic that the transparency and the information will continue to flow. I await hearing what the Rutgers people have to say, although that's not necessarily going to specifically make up my mind, but I think it's one more piece of the puzzle to help figure out the situation. I months ago mentioned, and I appreciate Mr. Kramer digging up a lot of information on it about the other alternative systems. I'm not sure why we're not getting more into that part of it, but I think it is worth hearing what Rutgers has to say, because because of developments in technology, there may be some way to make it unobtrusive. I don't know of any right now. I believe it would be obtrusive, but I do want to hear what the professionals have to say, both about a public system, a system that would project audio out there, and about a systems that would be more directed towards Wi-Fi, smartphones, etc. So I could appreciate the concern. I know most of the people have left by now. I could appreciate the concern, and keep on top of it, and send us your opinions, your thoughts, and hopefully this will be resolved soon. Otherwise, have a safe and enjoyable 4th of July, and come enjoy our fireworks on the 3rd.
That's correct.
It's going to be quite a show, not just fireworks, but quite a bit of activities and music and whatnot. So there might be some noise that night you can hear around the area, but I seriously, that is a joyous event, and hopefully we could all share in it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a few things. One, the Human Relations Council, Commission, gave me a whole list of things to report on. One was that we had a speaker, Jerry Midget, who is the president of the New Jersey Association of Election Officials and also happens to live in Franklin, and came and addressed the Human Relations Commission, and was very educational. And the second thing is that the Human Relations Commission wants to know if there's been any progress on the Berry Street Park, and if the manager could...
And I will tell you that we have reached out to PNC Bank, who's located in Pittsburgh. Letter went out back probably now about 2 months ago from myself and Mr. Healy, the planner, who's also the redevelopment agency executive director. We received acknowledgement of the receipt of the letter. We have received nothing further from them, so a follow-up letter was sent out, and we're now awaiting a reply as to if there is someone local that we can negotiate with.
Okay. Now, one other thing, and that is that the township got a grant, and it is for our clean communities.
That's an annual grant that we receive, yes.
And they felt that we should try and do something for our youth for summer employment to keep them occupied and productively busy.
No, I'll certainly speak with Mr. Zelenik, the Public Works Director. However, that grant is earmarked for a number of functions within the town. It is very limited as to what that grant can be used for. One of the things that it's used for, to the tune of about $35,000 or $40,000 of it, is to fund the newsletter that comes out several times a year. It also funds all of the Public Works roadside crews that do roadside cleanup on weekends, and that's its specific purpose. Now, whether or not it could be used to fund part-time positions, I can't say one way or the other, but I know that we also expend a significant, if not all of that grant, just doing the regular duties of the Public Works Department on roadside cleanups and what have you, but I'll certainly discuss it with Mr.
Especially
Zelenik.
if it's being done on the weekend, it might be time and a half that you're...
Well, that's its purpose.
Part-timers to do it less.
Understood, but then I still have to pay full-time employees to supervise them, so it's still it would be over and above what we currently do.
Okay. All right, so that's the Human Relations Commission, and now, the Middlebush Park and the sound system. Number one, a sound system does not exist. There is none under consideration. It does not exist, and there is a sound ordinance that the township has. That's all that exists. Now, if somebody says they want a sound system, we will look at it, and that's all we have done. Somebody invited a company to come in here and present, and that wasn't good enough. And after your comments and everything else, we said we've got to do our research and our homework. Part of bringing in Rutgers, not the people at the Rutgers Stadium, but the Rutgers Sound Engineering Department, who are the foremost experts in the field, in the area, who can advise us on it as to what is available, what is the technology, because they're on the cutting edge of the technology. So, and part of the blessing of your coming out is that we started to, I'm at large, so I look at the whole town. And then I started talking to people all over, and neighbors from Naaman William Park and other places gave me the same feedback, that look, it is too loud. Do something about it. So we got to thinking about it, and part of that is that if we can find some kind of a high-tech solution that we can implement, we can improve the quality of life not just for the residents around Middlebush Park, but for the whole township. And those are the new systems that are evolving and coming into being that we need to explore so that we improve and be on the cutting edge for all of America and improve the quality of life. That's the homework we're trying to do here. Not that we're bringing in somebody who's going to just rubber stamp what we're going to do. That's not the purpose of it. So please understand and don't rile up everybody with things that don't exist. I mean, it's quixotic. We're fighting windmills here. It's not something that exists, and we will not do anything unless we put ourselves in your shoes. And if I'm going to see your property values go down, and personally, what happens to you happens to me. So, that said, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to get the support, so please keep that in mind. Now, if there is a high-tech solution, let's explore it, that's all. It'll be no more obtrusive than a person just taking a walk or a jog around your park with an iPod with earphones in, and you can't hear them at all. So that's the kind of thing I'm shooting for, and that's what, but give us some time. We cannot spend, every meeting over the same thing over and over again. Give us some time to research it, talk to the experts. Nothing's going to happen to ruin your quality of life, I guarantee you that, until and unless we've done our homework. But give us the time to do so. The people who are friends, I mean, Roz Gherkin, she was a reporter for the Spectator, and she actually did an article on Indian cooking. So, I know her from way back when. Anyway, but everyone, please, keep that in mind, that we're not here, we're not against you, we're not here to ram something down your throats. Yet, let's explore ways we can bring that 65 decibel ordinance down to less and improve on it and make it more inobtrusive. There may be systems that we could work on as far as the stage house and, other fireworks and all those things, and, the soccer games. Both my kids went through, and I played soccer. I was a soccer dad out there cheering them along the way, so I'm guilty as charged. I did contribute to the noise of, but at the same time, that was what it was back then. And you could find parking at Sampson G. Smith. If you go there today, you can't even find parking because it's overused, and we needed more fields. The population has tripled in size, if not more. So we are way under providing for the recreational needs of our kids. And so that's the balance we have to find. And, the developer did donate that horse farm land towards a park, and it should have been a passive park, but unfortunately it turned out to be the way it did. And we will try to do it as best as possible, that the buffers that were supposed to be there, I was on the planning board, and I've said that time and time again, we never remove trees, and how it got through this time was a mistake. I don't know how it happened, but if I was on the planning board, it would not have happened. And so we got to correct it, and we're taking measures to correct it. So we're hearing you, and we're acting on it. So please keep that in mind, and just give us some time to work on it, and, to work yourself up into a frenzy about it is not going to be productive for you or for us. Let's calm minds, calmly make these decisions, and it's got to be a collective decision. Your inputs will be considered, and it'll be done that you will not be affected, the quality of life will not be affected. We want to maintain Franklin as the 5th best place to live, and that's the way it's going to be. In fact, we're going to improve on the sound ordinance if we can, and down the road we'll look at that. So with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I'm not going to recite a dissertation here. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. We really need to put this issue to bed and make a decision how we're going to move forward. I think we've riled up the citizens enough. We've caused a lot of consternation, a lot of distress, and we really need to move on this as quickly as possible. I know we need to do our due diligence, but I'm already ready to make up my mind. So I'm hoping that, we don't drag this out much longer. I think it is a good idea to get an expert in here. It doesn't hurt to get expert advice. But at some point, we just need to move this thing forward. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everyone knows where I stand on the sound system. I would love to put one in that doesn't disturb the neighbors at all. If that can be done, I'm for it. I do not know that that can be done, but if that can be done, I'm for it. Completely separate issue. I would like to congratulate one of Franklin's family, and that's one of our police officers, Pat Colligan. I learned today that he will be the next state president of the PBA. He was a gentleman who was the head of our local PBA. They have a system where they will pay a town the officer's salary and take the officer to the PBA headquarters, so that it costs us nothing, but they get the use of him at the PBA higher level. And apparently, I have no idea how it works out, but he will now be the next president. He is a good man, and it is very good for Franklin that we have a representative in such an important place. And I think it goes along with what the mayor has said many times, what we all boast about, and what we owe our police chief a lot. We've just got the finest force in the state, and these are the kind of people we produce. So congratulations to Mr. Colligan and to us.
That's very nice. Didn't know that.
Yep.
Thanks for letting us know.
You bet. And I guess I will go on from there.
It was in your report?
Thank you. Councilman Carl Wright.
One thing only, Mr. Mayor and my fellow council members, on July the 3rd, next week, we will be having our fireworks here at the Municipal Complex. We're open at 6, food, games, and more food and games, music, everything that you'd want at a fireworks celebration we're going to have. Also, fireworks start, I believe, Ms. McCarthy, at 9:15 or 9:45?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
It's generally around 9:15. We try to make sure it's dark enough. So given the cloud cover on any particular day, it can be dark enough at 9:15, sometimes 9:20. But yeah, Right around 9:15.
Right around that. I appreciate my Mr. Vornlocker, our township manager who knows everything. I love you. So I would suggest and I would like everyone to come out for the 4th of July celebration. And once again, there are no tax dollars involved. Everything is raised. I would like to thank a former mayor, former council member, Bill Grippo, who's also a principal in Franklin Township, for taking on that challenge to raise the funds for the 4th of July. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and that's it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologize it was late. Unfortunately, work in Trenton gave me longer and hence no deputy report, but I'll real short tonight. First thing is in order. It's happy 350th birthday to the state of New Jersey. Today is our birthday. It's probably something that a lot of people don't realize. I saw it in the paper, and but when you think about the history of the state and all where our roots come from and how we got to this democratic society that we have today, I think it's very impressive that we are celebrating 350 years. Also, in advance for everybody, I hope everyone has a happy 4th of July, a day of independence. Yes, they do celebrate 4th of July in England, but here we celebrate our Independence Day, where we became an independent country. Again, in that history is rooted a lot of the rights that we come to take for granted today and don't even realize we have versus some of the other countries in the world and some of the other societies. So, we have a lot to be proud of. We do have a very, in the United States, very open system of government. We have that here in New Jersey and also in Franklin, where, Franklin was a town that took leading edge on televising our council meetings. There were many municipalities are hesitant to do that because though you have sunshine laws and you have agendas that are published, many municipalities are hesitant to have what is said in their council chambers on tape and made visible to other residents of it. We run it here as a service to our town residents so that if they can't make a meeting, they can turn on the government channel and see what was happening and hear what is heard. So I think as far as a open government, we generally exceed our surrounding municipalities, and I think we're a leader in Somerset County, and I would dare say in the space in many areas, certainly with open space. There are when people come to Franklin and they talk about the farms and all the open space, the parks, they say how wonderful it is, and I remind them that yes, a third of our acreage here in Franklin is open space, and it is something to be very proud of and something we continue to work hard at to preserve. The Comcast presentation tonight, again, frustrating for some residents. This has been an educational process. You've heard me talk about it at various times over the last few months about how this process is moving along, because when you read the title, renewal, you actually think that there's an option and that other people come in to bid and try to outtake it. But as our attorney said that, hey, those cables were put in, they're the property of Comcast. Comcast is not going to turn it off one day and turn it to another company. So I want to thank our attorney for the explanation and the services he's provided to us over the last months on this, working along with Bob Vornlocker, our township manager, also for our residents who served on the cable committee. Again, getting input from our residents is very important to us, and we do it in many ways. And again, probably are one of the leading towns in the state. So that's about it. Clearly enough has been said about the speakers tonight, so you don't yet to need another councilman go on 5 minutes about that. So we've had everything said about it. So thank you, and I will turn it over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you. And for my comments, again, with the park, since that's a big thing that was mentioned, for me, it never hurts to gather information. Rutgers is a state university. They certainly have the experts in noise, so that's fine if something can be done. And I don't know if sound can stay on the field. I'm not that kind of expert. That's why I rely on people to fill us in. So again, just an ongoing information, but like Councilwoman Francois said, it's fair to all people around to just make the decision, and then that's it. I'm going to also reiterate, embellish what the deputy mayor said about the open government. It was mentioned about people knowing things. I think we are, and we were a pioneer in keeping open, and I think that's to a person here. It's as I say in the beginning, in the weekend before, you can see the agenda, you can see every resolution, you can see every ordinance, you can sign up on our website. Anytime anything changes, you'll be emailed in the library here. You can see the video, you can get the minutes of the meetings, and we've always been known for the open access like we are here. This is, people have been asking, but there's been, hopefully, see no attempt to shut anyone out. So, again, hopefully that resolves soon. Appreciate the input from everyone, as always. And that concludes my comments. So now, we go to, Mr. Vornlocker, do you have anything?
I really have no report. However, Councilman Prasad just asked me to make note of one issue. I believe it was Mr. Calafiore who came to the microphone earlier this evening and indicated that funds are being expended on this park and reminded council that there were police layoffs, and I certainly, probably better than anyone, certainly recall the fact that there were police layoffs, being that I was an employee of the police department for 27 years. It is separate funds. The money that funds this park and the parks that we're planning on building in the future and the ones that we currently have in our inventory, the funding for those parks comes from the Open Space Trust. It's part of your open space tax. It is in fact tax money, but it is not money that can be used for other purposes other than the acquisition of land as open space or development rights acquisitions, or the construction of active recreation or the rehabilitation of historic structures. So it is very, very specific as to what those funds can be used for, and it can't be used to pay for police officers. So it really is an apples and oranges kind of thing. And that really ends my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sir. So now we come to item 14, council discussion item, which we do not have any this evening. So we come to item 15, approval of the minutes. Presented to the Township Council for approval are the minutes of the Township Council work session regular meeting of June 12th, 2014, 7 o'clock p.m., and the Township Council executive session of June 12th, 2014. Is there a motion that the aforesaid minutes be approved as submitted?
Second it.
Move, seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the minutes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan? Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Next, we have item 16, the warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $1,029,679.97 on June 24th, 2014 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion that the warrants be paid as read?
So moved.
Second.
Move second. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Next, we have item 17. These are public hearing and ordinance, and adoption of ordinance on second reading. Usually, an ordinance goes into law after two votes. The first time it's introduced, And the second time, usually the next meeting, it's voted on a second time, and if that ordinance passes, then it goes into law. And at that second vote, we have a public hearing where people from the town, anyone from the public can tell us what is on his or her mind. So we have item number 17. There's 3 ordinance second public hearing and second readings. The first is 17A, ordinance number 4062-14, bond ordinance providing for 2014 road resurfacing program in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $2,500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $2,375,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the costs thereof. This is from our last budget. It's a road for resurfacing roads in town. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication. The public hearing is in order. Is the motion to open the meeting for public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one's interested in speaking, I move that we close this portion of the public discussion.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public portion of this ordinance is closed. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage?
Mr. Mayor?
Ordinance?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, Councilman Vasanelli.
I would like to motion to pass this ordinance, but beforehand, I just want to make clear, people probably have seen some of the paving going on, and especially New Brunswick Road, which I know many of people in my ward and others were concerned about. Hopefully, they like the section between JFK and Demont that was done. But I mention that because this $2.5 million is for roads for the 2014 to 2015 cycle, where you have seen and might see some that has been done relevant to last year's approval, because we have to approve well beforehand and then schedule it. So you, including a section of JFK, which you should be paved in the near future, which was part of last year's, and there's actually a part of JFK on this year's. So you'll be seeing a lot of paving, and just so people realize, and the list, I believe, is on the web, on our site, and I don't know if last year's list.
And as the paving comes up and as we approach it, another notice gets posted to the specific paving.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and the reason we can't tell you ahead of time, because it all has to do with weather and scheduling and the contractor's schedules, et cetera. But if you are interested, especially if the roads that you travel on are near you, we do make a point of putting that information up as soon as possible. And I just wanted to clarify that, because that has specifically to do with how we spend this money. And having said that, I would like to motion to final passage of bond ordinance ordinance 40624-14.
Seconded.
Okay, that's moved and seconded for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with the law. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 17A, ordinance 4062-14, please.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Motion is carried. So next we have item 17B, ordinance 4063-14, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $581,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $551,950 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. These are other capital items from our last budget. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication. The public hearing is in order. There's a motion to open the meeting for public hearing on this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public hearing on this particular ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak, please raise your hand.
Seeing no one coming forward, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that public session be closed.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved. Seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 17B, ordinance 4063-14, please.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Councilman?
23, 24,
I thought you said,
Well,
no, you think Councilwoman Sherman.
Yeah.
That's fine.
sorry.
No problem. Yes.
I get
Councilman-
called councilman all the time. So.
Mayor Close.
Now I know how you feel.
Get used to it. Now you know how I feel.
Councilman Wright?
Motion is carried. We're very modern and gender neutral here.
Just for the record, I heard councilman.
Okay.
You can call me councilwoman anytime you'd like.
Okay, we come to the final of our public hearings and second readings. That's item 17C on the agenda, ordinance number 4064-14. And bond ordinance providing for various capital acquisitions and improvements for the water utility of the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $4,105,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,105,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. This is a bond ordinance for capital acquisition specifically for the water utility and paid for by the water utility. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication, and a public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you very much. The motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Yeah,
Councilman Prasad.
I would like to move
Go ahead.
for the final passage, but would like to make a comment that the water utility, this ordinance actually includes funding for something that is very near to Councilman Chase as well as my heart, and that is the Little Rocky Hill Route 27 pipeline that we needed to do to improve the water quality and pressures, et cetera, in that area. And so finally, I think we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel here. And hopefully with the implementation of this, we will have a solution. So though Mr. Chase is not here, but we will be taking care of the residents in Little Rocky Hill. So with that, I move for passage of this ordinance.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 17C, ordinance 4064-14, please.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yep.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. We now come to item 18, ordinances and introduction on first reading. We have one this evening, item 18A on the agenda, ordinance 4065-14, an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 384 Water, Section 384-19 Curb Connection Capital Fee for calendar year 2014. This is a calculation, specific calculation based on amounts and former cash flow for capital, for connection fees for water. This is done by our Finance Department, and it's included in this ordinance. The Foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, July 8th, 2014, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 18A, ordinance 4065-14, please.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Now we come to number 19, 19A through Y. This is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is a resolution of, a bunch of resolutions of a generally routine nature, which can be voted on at one time. It's any council person's prerogative to pull anything off for a separate vote. So these items, 19A through 19Y, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there questions or a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion for the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. No discussion. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the consent agenda.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next we come to item number 20, old business. 2014 board and commission vacancies. Do we have nominations for any of these vacancies? You know what, I'm
Miss-
sorry. It should actually be on the one, 20 resolutions voted on separately, of which we do not have any this evening. So 21 is old business, boards and commission vacancies. Are there nominations?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have an opening on the sewage authority for a commissioner. One of our commissioners, Russ Warner, after 15 years, resigned. So I want to thank him at this time for his service to the sewage authority on behalf of the residents and the officials here. In that, right now, we have a alternate commissioner, William Howard. He is recommended by the Sewage Authority Commissioners to move up from alternate to fill the remaining term of Russ. So at this point, I make a motion to have council confirm that motion.
Second it.
Okay, moved. So it's a nomination for Mr. William Howard to become from an alternate to a full member of the Sewage Authority. Are there any other nominations for this position? If not, all in favor of Mr. Howard by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I'd like to
Councilman Wright?
throw that in there. I did not vote because Mr. Howard is my father-in-law, so I did not vote on that issue.
If I can interject so that it wouldn't appear as a conflict, no family issues, right?
Right, I just want
All
to
right.
drop that in there.
Abstain.
Mr. Mayor?
Actually, he didn't want to vote for it, so he really doesn't want to get in trouble with his wife.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Prasad?
Mr. Howard is also a former mayor. That's
Yes,
what
he
we
is.
do to our
Yes.
former mayors.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you got something to look forward to.
We put our former mayors on the sewage authority? So is that where?
Just get flushed right down.
Are you guys thinking,
That was a good one.
you guys thinking my whole or what, okay? Man.
We need that laugh.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Vasanella?
A good choice for Mr. Howard, by the way, I believe.
it is.
For elevating him, excellent. I just want to mention, we do have an opening. Unfortunately, Amanda Johnson, excellent member of our Cable Advisory Committee, will be relocating and will not be able to serve, I believe, after July. So just put it out there to the public. Anybody who's interested, please, submit a form. It meets monthly. And besides the whole ascertainment period and contract stuff, there's many other things they do. So if you know anybody who's interested and You're welcome to come out to one of our cable meetings on the first Monday of each month if you'd like. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yeah, Councilman Prasad.
Yeah, just to update the council, our junior commissioners on the Human Relations Commission, we have one that's graduating, Carly Sirota, and we thank her for her service on the commission. And we have a new junior commissioner, and her name is Bilva Chandra, and so she was recommended by the school and the counselors, so we're glad to have her. She attended her first meeting yesterday.
Oh, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if I can take the liberty from all of us, we thank Mr. Warner, wish him well for all his long, long service to the township. So, any other nominations?
Nope.
Okay, so then we come to item 22, executive session. This has been added since the weekend. An executive session is when the council meets in private, and there's only a certain occasions which the council can do that, such as attorney-client privilege, personnel matters, negotiations. When the subject of that executive session no longer needs me to remain private, the minutes of those executive sessions will be made public. So we have one item today for executive session. It's Resolution 14-324, acquisition of open space property, Skillman's Lane property. This is presented to the Township Council for adoption, the resolution. Is there a motion for the executive session resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Move second. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the resolution for executive session, please.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer? Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Regan?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. So we're going to go into executive session for this item. After executive session, we'll come back here and we'll just do two items of business. Number one, we will vote to come out of executive session. And number two, we will vote to adjourn. That's the only business. So because will be it, we're going to end our taping right now. Happy graduation from all of us. Have a great 4th of July and Independence Day, and hope to see you at our town fireworks on July 3rd.